Welcome to Juggz. We're back again, all of us, three of us, and someone else. But Louise, still eating icebergs, are we?
I am eating icebergs.
She's eating icebergs.
Oh, but we do have...
Rob's got icebergs in his armpits.
Icebergs in his
And our guest has no icebergs. He's just come from an iceberg.
Yeah, he's too cool.
Oh, we
He's the last survivor of the Titanic.
Oh my God, it's the last living survivor of the Titanic.
On a raft of corpses, I've sailed all the way to the English Isles. I don't know how I got to Nottingham from there, maybe making a car out of the bones. Then, ricketing my way to Nottingham. It's good. Hello, everyone.
It's Max Fitzgerald, What from Turnip28.
I think he needs more of an introduction. Just for
from Turnip28.
Just for everyone on YouTube, this is actually the seventh start of the recording because of my mess up, so I apologise. But Max is a creator, that's definitely true, an artist in your own right, also the creator of the incredibly famous Turnip28, and in addition, you're also working on Swill.
More slop.
More grimy, sad little boys.
And Turnip28 is an incredibly well-regarded game system. So having Max on the show is pretty cool for us.
And which we already established in one of our many takes of this intro. It is in fact the 10th, not
Juggz.
Anniversary. It's the 10th Juggz.
So Jughead's out there. It's time to celebrate because we are now
a decade.
We are now double digits.
No. I'm getting really
which is the best. We should the best Juggz.
Oh, we should have got birthday cards and badges.
Oh, we could have got birthday cards and badges.
I didn't even know what
10
numbers we were
out
on.
of 10, but that...
Next week we're getting 11 badges.
Next week.
Another number.
So thanks, Max, for joining us on the show.
Thanks for coming on our Juggz.
You just wanted to get that in.
You had to do it.
You had a great intro for Rob about semen, but we'll
I
move
did,
on
because
from
I
that.
was like eating ice, and then you said something about ice, and then are you a sea something? And
Monster.
I said monster, and I said, well, speaking of sea monsters, we have a seaman, and then I pointed at Rob because seaman.
It's like being a giant white tadpole.
So, Max.
Hello. Speaking of seamen,
white tadpole.
I'm one of those horrible creatures that can bite through ice
Oh,
for pleasure.
shit.
I'll just sit at parties reaching into my drink and go...
My stepmom's an ice
freaks
eater,
people
but
out. I
only
can't
when
stop
she's
it.
anxious. So you'll just hear like this crunching noise. I can't do it. I
I'm
can't
more
eat
of an
ice.
ice sadist, I suppose.
Wait, you love
Ice
eating
sadist.
ice?
To annoy people.
That's so awful.
I know.
Menace.
Okay, well,
Menace.
what we're going to do is we're going to catch up with everyone about like, what we've been up to in the past week, and then we're going to talk obviously about Turnip, Swill, and everything else. Max, your journey as a
I've got
creator.
many questions.
Loads, and then probably
Peachy's
also
been preparing for this for a long time
I know.
because, as we established already,
14 years.
we have 89 years.
I've been ready for this show for so long.
Yeah, Max, we all had COVID for a while after TurnipCon.
Not me, I tested.
Not you.
Thank you.
And then like our tummies felt bad, and then we double booked you. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm here now.
You've actually been in Nottingham for a few weeks.
I have.
So what has been the impetus in you wanting to like check Nottingham out? Because it is the mecca of miniature games design, miniature art.
Yeah, it's the lead belt. It's where a load of crusty old Games Workshop rejects sort of
Yeah,
coal
yeah.
together
Here
and
we
make
are,
something
Max.
good. That's
Here
what I
we
thought.
are.
Welcome to the show.
As a complete reject, I should come. Should come on Juggz as you would and talk about
Nice.
it and say, yeah, I came down for TurnipCon, which was the biggest ever, and we held it in Nottingham, and it was like a day of playing Turnip, talking to people who like Turnip, giving a man a fish.
Oh my God! I can
comparing
insert
vegetables.
pictures of giving man fish.
Yes.
Also,
insert.
you did it here.
We did
in
it
this
here
very
in the
room.
TSN arena,
Okay.
which I
hate the
don't
way
know
he
what it stands for.
It's like you and Goobs are two of the people who
like
I don't
you're-
want with words that I've created in your mouth.
I know. It's like an ancient radio host reading it off a bit of paper. The TSN arena.
Two horse racing at this fair, you see.
Yes, unfortunately, I'm cursed.
But you came down for a Turnip. So TurnipCon was like the largest Turnip event that's ever been so far.
Yeah,
organised by the
it
wonderful
was-
Ben.
It was great.
Oh my God, Ben's incredible.
He's a lifesaver. His organisational skills are outstanding.
He's so normal and fun.
What's his email and how
Not
can
when
I
he gets
hire
really
him?
stressed.
Yeah. Is he like open to commissions?
Yeah, because I could do with organising.
Yeah,
Peachy's
well,
doing
yeah,
Peachy
absolutely. Yeah, I'm
I'm
sure
doing
he would.
Peachy
Well,
Con.
I don't want to speak for him, obviously. But
I do.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
Ben.
He's a cool guy.
So yeah, what was your impetus for wanting to be in Nottingham? So obviously Turnip Con, but then you decided to stay for longer.
Rob, I came for you. It was all you. Rob.
Amazing.
I mean, I looked in your
look at
eyes whilst
Look at
watching
it.
The Honest Wargamer, and my heart. It leapt out over the internet and brought me
Honestly,
here.
you're not the only one.
Okay.
Like,
I think
we're all here for Rob.
It's hard being the neurotypical on the
It's hard
in the
being
hobby.
the
In the
hot
hobby,
one.
the neurotypical in the hobby. So what was it made you want to visit? And have you spent a lot of time looking at stuff? Because I actually know
Literally-
that you love all this stuff.
Curiosity.
Okay.
Because there's loads of people in Nottingham. Because I'm all the way down south, near Eastbourne, where the old people come to die.
Yeah.
And
I've heard this.
so I thought,
Like
journey.
That's where you get the clothes, I assume.
I'm in the graveyards, pulling it
Digging
off.
them up.
Yeah, pulling out gold teeth
Just
and then
scrubbing up
taking the
grave.
gold teeth and giving them to the Sussex Rail so I can pay
Give
to
them
come
to
and
the
see
rich.
you guys.
Is it still steam down there, or
Oh no,
is
we
it
do have
electrified?
we have a Dotto train, which
What's
is
a
a little
Dotto train?
that goes along the promenade.
What's a promenade?
You don't. I suppose you don't have a promenade, do you?
Max,
We have to,
please
like,
remember,
kind of
please
north.
remember that she's in Nottingham, but she's from Scotland. They
I'm
don't have
From
promenades.
the
They barely
frozen
have
north.
roads.
We don't have money.
No offense, Scotland. I just want you to know.
I love you. I miss you.
I love you,
We
but-
have clothes down here. We have clothes and food.
I've
Which
been to
Not just
Oban,
hockey socks
I
and
think,
kilts.
and there was a
Oban's
promenade there.
lovely.
There was a promenade there. I was
'cause of
served
shits.
some mussels by an old man and pouring Lambrini into the mussel dish. It was amazing.
that sounds really good. Oban
Lambrini
does really
and
good
mussels.
seafood.
Yeah, I thought, I only drank Lambrini on nights out when I was 14.
Yeah.
But
I'm just a-
it works well with mussels.
that?
I'm imagining
Scottish
just
train.
like a rippling torsoed man.
Yeah, we
just
served
pouring
mussels.
Lambrini over himself.
Yeah, okay.
I
Yeah,
thought
not
it would be
oiled up.
Buckfast. I bet that's.
Buckfast
I'm
and
sure
mussels would be
it
quite nice.
feels like
Bumfest.
you're Buckfast. Bumfest. Buckfast. Bumfuck. Anyway,
Don't like any of that.
just beep it out.
Keep it all. Keep it
But
Yeah.
Buckfast. Have you had it?
yes.
It's
but
brewed
not
by
for
monks
years.
in Scotland.
It is.
It's actually
Yeah.
not terrible.
Do
but
monks still exist?
Have you never had
Yeah.
Buckfast?
No.
Oh my god! It's like
gosh.
the national Scottish drink.
Oh.
It comes in like this wine. It's like a wine bottle.
Yeah.
Is it wine? What is Buckfast?
It's tonic, isn't it? It's
no,
tonic wine.
no, because no matter what temperature you serve it as, it tastes like hot Ribena.
If you're watching this video,
Yeah.
do obviously let us know what Buckfast is in the comments.
Buck-
and that will then be able to close up this conversation, which is great.
Max is here, yay.
And so, while flirting down a promenade
Yes.
in the south, you decided to arrive in Nottingham.
I did.
And then what curiosity? You said curiosity. What
Yeah.
stuff is here that you were most curious about?
There is, of course, Rob. Second of all, there's Warrock Games. There's
Yes.
Perry Miniatures. There's Ramshackle Games, who has a little studio
Downstairs.
down in this building. There's, of course, all the creators, all the bloody influencers, and
All the bloody
influencers.
There's Boyle as well.
Yeah,
Bring
yeah.
Out Your Lead, which is fantastic.
Alex
There's
from
Alex from
Warp.
Warp Miniatures. There's just a million different people
Everyone's
I want
here.
to get to know and say hello, and I've been a big fan of for years.
Have you had
and
a chance to go
years.
to North Star yet?
No, I haven't
Where?
had a
I've
chance to do
never
anything.
been.
I have been
What?
sick.
Oh,
I have
of course
been
you have.
Yeah.
unbearably sick, which, is why I'm so pale.
Alarm.
And the fact that I never leave my house.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just I want to see.
So yeah, because you are what is your, if it's okay for me to ask, when did you enter into miniatures as a
when I was a little spratling.
I
like,
actually don't
when I
know
was
this
like
story.
Yeah.
6 or 7, I got like a little vampire lord. With that, I don't know. I just walked into a Warhammer shop. I was like, oh, look at this guy. And then I got some squig hoppers. And then from
What?
there, I just started collecting a million orcs and goblins and painting them with my father.
I didn't know you were an orc and goblin guy.
Yeah, but I sold them all before I went to university.
that's so
and then I've never been able to live it
sad.
down, really. Like, the heartbreak is real.
My mum sold all my Polly Pockets when I was 10, and the
yeah.
resale market is fucking crazy now. So there you go.
That's
Tough.
okay, Leslie. You were just doing what you thought was right at the time.
That's fine. I
that's
don't hate
important.
you.
What was the vampire count? Was it?
It was like he had red armor on a horse and a bald, which I basically
the
become
classic
him.
one.
Yeah, I have it in my
Yes.
head.
The
yeah.
Red Duke.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
it's the
that's
Red
it,
Duke.
yeah.
He has a
Yeah.
cravat.
So that was your. Did then that carry on through? Because obviously, like at some point you decided you were
going up and down. I think before university I dropped out of the hobby for a long time.
Everyone does.
And then I picked it back up. Then Age of Sigmar happened, and I kind of rode that for a bit, but then became incredibly dissatisfied with, I suppose, Warhammer. And I don't know, prices went up, games became less enjoyable for me personally.
That's fair.
And then I just dropped completely and started just drawing, just only drawing things and doing funny art.
You're incredibly, I don't know if people know that, but you are an incredibly good artist. I remember seeing your stuff when shut up, because I have evidence. Like, I remember seeing your stuff when I was an illustrator in Forge World and being like, I can't fucking draw like that.
Doesn't John Blanche love your art?
Yeah, he does. He's so sweet.
What?
I've got some.
Shut up then.
Shut up. No, John's great. I love John.
Max.
Yeah, he's lovely, and I'm sure he
I got to
loves
meet him
Turnip.
last year. No,
Boyle.
before, yeah,
Yeah, it was
which
Boyle.
was amazing.
Yeah.
Oh God, he's a hero.
He's such a cool guy.
So I want to touch on, if it's all right, a bit about Turnip, because obviously this sounds like all those things that have happened. That's when Turnip started to be conjured.
What, like when you start to get
I
dissatisfied?
think it was less. It was basically an entire 2-3 years of failure, which kind of created it. Just like failing to get jobs, getting kicked out of your house, not making enough money, COVID.
Yeah.
It all sort of just
Is
getting
it that
a bit.
new?
It's like 4 years old.
Yeah, because
I thought
I
it
remember
was so
seeing
much
it around
older.
COVID time, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Ooh, this is
Yeah,
interesting."
it was just like,
That
just
blew up
getting
so fast.
ground down into a little, I don't know, strange mess. And then just going, hey, you know what, I'm just going to draw. I'm just going to do some things. And then it sort of spiraled out, and then people liked it. And I was like, yeah, I'll draw some more. And then maybe a little magazine thing. And then people were like, oh, maybe some rules. I'll do some rules. And now I make miniatures, and now it's a game. And now, like, nearly close to half 100 people.
It's a cult
came
now.
and
It's a
played
cult.
it.
I mean, more than 100 people
But yeah.
play it.
Yeah, quite a few people play it now.
Yeah,
which is
loads of
insane for a
people
little
play
indie
it.
game that came out of nowhere.
So it started as a setting. Is that
It
fair to say?
literally started as like I was bored on the train and stuck at King's Cross, and I drew it, and then I don't know.
Escalated.
So-
Yeah.
What was your inspiration always like? And obviously you've done the drawing and stuff like that. Because one of the things I always found really interesting, it's something I always want to explore, but you did it better and darker and grimmer.
And
Was I
cooler.
like mixing kitbashing. I like kitbashing. And seeing like the historical miniatures, like the Perry sort of medieval stuff mixed with the Napoleonic stuff smashed together. Was that always your intention? Like, oh, I've got these models at home, and I can't afford the hobby that
I'm
much.
not smart enough to do like anything intentional.
Yeah,
But
you say that. But
yeah,
I've seen it.
basically I wanted to play. I think Shark Practice.
Yes.
which is a
Yeah,
really
yeah.
good game.
Yeah,
but I like painting that many models. There's not that many models. I think it's like 50.
Yeah,
That's
something
But
like that.
Still quite
Napoleonic
a lot.
uniforms are incredibly complicated.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, how can I do this in a way that I get the mechanics of it, but I don't have to paint as many buttons? And so I thought, by like putting a big plate of rusty armor from
Yeah.
another set of Perry miniatures.
Yeah.
So I was using the French. I
Yeah,
think,
yeah.
And then I would just smush them together, cover them in mud, and then put a little grass tuft on it, and put some more mud on that, and even more mud, and then
I love the commitment to so I remember you invited me to your Discord. I think it was
Yeah.
something like 3 years ago. And I was like, oh, this is going to be fun because Turnip's a bit weird. And I get in the Discord and like the first thing I see, I think it was you or someone else was like, here's my next miniature. Anyway, I calcified it in salt grime for 18 months. And it was just like these vaguely human-shaped blobs of salt crystals. And I was like, this is the freaking coolest place on
Would it be
I
okay
love
to
it
say,
here.
like, I don't want to speak for you, but just for people who might be wondering at home, that Turnip28 is a Napoleonic war game with root vegetables,
Yes.
and obviously also therefore a setting where that's based as well.
Explain your setting.
Okay, so in 1,000 years after the defeat of Napoleon at the Battle of Austerlitz, it's sort of alt history. The world's fallen into decay and ruin, and a giant root vegetable, as things happen, has taken over the planet.
Just one.
It's a big root vegetable. It's very
Okay.
big, and it is destroyed all plant life, poisoned water, killed 90% of everyone, and turned everything else into vaguely root vegetable things. So you might see a horse, but when you look closer, it's a bit rootier, and maybe it's slowly growing a few more heads. But it's, it might taste like carrot. And you pick up a carrot and you crack it open, and there might be a beating heart inside of it.
Nice.
Something, pungent. And then people just hang out, and it's all set in this tiny little place called Sis, which is in the middle of nowhere in the remains of the Prince Bishopric of Liège, which is Belgium-ish area.
Oh, that's nice.
And nothing happens. No one cares. And it's completely isolated.
So like normal Belgium.
Yes. Tina just comes out the door like, what?
I'm just taking shots at everyone. Scotland, Belgium. I just go through the
Why are
list.
you like this, Rob?
I got too much
Why
love
you
on the
like
last
this?
podcast. It made me feel
Belgium
uncomfortable.
is a lovely place.
It is a lovely
The
place.
thing with Belgium is that nothing quite happens there, but then everything happens there.
Yeah.
Like Waterloo. is in
Historically,
Belgium.
yeah.
All the most important things in Europe seem to happen
Is it because
near Belgium.
nothing happens there that people are like, where should we
Well,
meet? Do you want to meet at Belgium?
Where did the guy get killed in World War One? Belgium? No.
The guy.
Archduke.
Yeah,
Ferdinand.
Archduke.
I don't know my history.
Serbia, wasn't it? Was he
Somewhere.
Somewhere,
Oh,
yeah.
Serbian shot him. I can't
And
remember
he
if it was
never
in
got
Austria
his
or-
sandwich.
Yeah, he didn't. He was so close to the sandwich.
I don't know. I don't know.
It was a long
You
time
were
ago.
explaining. Sorry, Max. We
Sorry.
apologise.
Yeah, as you can
Let's
see,
go, team.
my historical knowledge is a bit rubbish, so I've replaced that with root vegetables.
That's really fair.
So, yeah,
Do people
yeah.
assume that you have like major historical knowledge and then because like
No, most people assume I'm an idiot.
Oh.
Which is good. It's good.
I don't think that's remotely
I
accurate.
think you're very
I don't think that's
smart.
remotely accurate.
But yeah.
So yeah, post-apocalyptic,
Yeah. and so
Napoleon
just a
elliptic.
bunch of idiots are on a sort of fanatical religious crusade to, I don't know quite, everyone has their own different ways of living, but they're trying to get a imagined perfect vegetable. So when you pick up a carrot in a Tesco's, you go, oh, that's a nice carrot because it's been bred, it's been genetically engineered to be
It's a
lovely.
good fucking
but to
carrot.
them, that is the dream carrot. The ones they get are shriveled, mangled
Oh,
in
do
the
they
apocalypse.
want the like
They see this dream of something that tastes remotely nice.
a bit sweet?
Yeah, and it drives them to a religious fervor to do battle. Because they love it. They really adore this concept in their heads. And they're led by
I love
charismatic-
vegetables. like you don't
Honestly,
have to
we're
convince
with
me.
you.
I'm always this close. I love vegetables. Louise will tell you, I'd
honestly,
fight people
carrot
for a
is like
Sunday
my
roast.
favorite food, so I'm like, go on.
Now, see,
Go
this is the great thing about it, is because we all have our opinions on root vegetables.
Love them.
And because there is only root vegetables, there's no pumpkins. There's
So
a few
this
Oh
is the
yeah,
thing,
yeah,
isn't
yeah,
it?
yeah.
Fucking
So that's
pumpkin.
Just
quite
root vegetables.
controversial.
Because this is quite interesting in a setting. If you put like a kind of arbitrary and weird constraints, you can get some really creative stuff.
What do you mean?
Well,
oh, what, like there being no pumpkin, so you can't do like the I'm the
can't-
scarecrows
can't
and
have
the pumpkin
so you've got to
heads.
think
Can't have
around it.
apples.
There's no corn, so
Oh, there's
how
not-
do you get scarecrows? Like there's no wheat, there's no. But so how do you get
Wheat's
bread?
a grass, though, isn't it?
It is a grass, so there's no grass
There's no grass.
Just mud
So how do they get
and
the tufts?
roots.
because the tufts are like the. Have you ever seen carrots grow? You ever
Yeah,
seen
the
a
leaf
root
at the
vegetable
top
grow?
of a
They're
carrot.
very
You ever
leafy.
seen a carrot?
Yeah, you nerd.
It's quite interesting because we are quite divorced from produce in a lot of ways.
I am, yeah.
And so this weird adventure has made me learn about competition gardening, where British men grow enormous vegetables.
It's so weird. I got into
Yeah.
like competition gardening TikTok at one point, and those marrows are off the fucking
Yeah, yeah.
scales.
Why?
I get what was it yesterday that someone mentioned something, and I'd watched it on TikTok, and I can't remember what it was. But yeah, I get into weirdly specific TikToks.
Well, I know exactly why this is. I've always said, like, Louise can sometimes get quite stressed by situations and things.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always said the very top, everyone's got a threshold.
Yeah.
Like, everyone's got different limits, and that makes sense, and that's super okay.
Yeah.
Louise's, I think, is if there was to be a small perturbance at a root vegetable fair,
Yes.
yeah, and maybe, like, Mrs. Whatever
It's like
was
in The
having a
Hobbit.
slight disagreement with someone else, she'd be like, that is the
That's
maximum I can handle.
stress that I can handle.
That is the tippy top
Which
of the
is why when
iceberg.
every week when you're like, how's your week been? I'm like, someone made a statement on the internet which made me sad. But anyway, root vegetables.
Yes.
They're my favorite kind of vegetable, I think. So what's in? So
'cause
wait.
they're weird.
Turnips, obviously.
Carrots,
Beetroots.
yams,
Yams.
lotus
Oh,
flowers,
sweet
Yams are good.
potatoes.
bulrushes, anything that
Bulrushes.
humanity has cultivated, because it's an odd category. It's kind of made up. For example, garlics, onions.
Vegetables
carrots.
are made up.
Yeah,
What do you
exactly.
mean vegetables are
Vegetable
made
is a
up?
made up category. It's a
Well,
culinary
all-
term.
All categories are made up. It's only how useful it is.
That's true.
But it is a blurred category, certainly.
It's made up.
Are sweet
but what's quite
potatoes a
interesting
vegetable?
about that is that you can have incredibly thorough religious arguments about what exactly is a vegetable.
I'm ready to do it now.
Yeah,
I'm so excited.
I'm already there. I'm already there.
It's quite fun because then you're
How did you
basically
discover
role-playing
this?
exactly.
Like, how did you discover that people actually really fucking care about root vegetables? Because I'm there. Like,
I
you've
don't
already
know. I
described
like roast
it.
potatoes.
Well-
they mean a lot to me.
So, like,
Me
sweet-
too, buddy.
I
Me
really,
too.
Sweet
Oh my God.
potatoes are a root vegetable, right?
I don't think they're a potato.
Sweet
I
potatoes.
think they're a kind of yam.
Yeah,
But
they
they're,
are.
but,
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
would they count in turnip?
Yeah,
Do
absolutely.
potatoes count, don't they?
Yeah.
I've not done
Yeah.
that horribly wrong.
Yeah.
never
Do you know
mind.
potatoes? And I'm sure you already know this, but you know potatoes weren't ever meant to be like edible.
What do you mean? Why are they so edible,
you know cathedrals.
Yeah.
You know how like when they started building
Cathedrals
cathedrals.
aren't edible either.
That's thanks, mate.
Cathedral City is, I think, your
Cathedral
fault.
City is edible.
They're meant to be edible, but unfortunately they didn't turn out to be edible.
Only once.
Yes.
Okay, anyway.
Those chocolate cathedrals.
Gingerbread cathedrals, I don't know. So cathedrals, you know, like they'd be like, we're going to build a cathedral here, and then the stonemason would be like, me and my sons and his grandsons and his grandsons will build this for 400 years. You know that they're built over generations.
Yeah.
Okay, so potatoes, and
Yeah,
obviously correct me in the
yours
comments
is
if I'm
cool.
wrong. So basically, potatoes were considered to be a gift to the Peruvian people. Shout out to Oscar.
Oscar, woo! We love
The
Peru in
Peruvian
this
people
family.
from like their gods. And if I'm getting this wrong, and so effectively what they would do is because they were poisonous, all potatoes were poisonous, and so what they did was they kept growing them on these like steeps for generations
Okay.
until they were edible.
But why don't we start doing that with? Sorry, I was trying to be Max.
Mock me, why don't you?
Why don't we try and do that with other like things?
Well, I mean,
Like,
that's what genetically
Not
modified stuff
necessarily
is.
pufferfish.
Stop what you're doing.
Yeah, so
I feel like there's sort of like a whole generation of like different hairstyles going
I'm
on.
the only one that doesn't have a mustache. I got sad.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's
you
pretty
got a
good.
good one
It is
right
pretty
now,
good.
actually.
Yeah.
Anyway, but
Bit
like,
pushy.
why did they decide to just fucking?
They
keep
just
going?
grew them over generations,
Yeah.
hundreds of years
But
apparently.
why?
Well,
not?
because it was something like ordained.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you
Oh,
must.
because they got them from the gods. Why would the god punish them with cursed potatoes?
Because, I don't know, but like that's as far as I know with the story. There's like 3,000 types of
It is
potatoes.
I have not
Interesting.
heard that. I'll have to
I
look
haven't
into
heard that either,
But
'cause that could be
because
cool.
I know humanity and food is tied quite deeply. It's quite an interesting topic to do.
We love it.
I've always
It's-
wondered, right? So my biggest thing with humanity is we should be dead as a race, right?
Wow. Okay,
I
I'm
feel
ready. I'm ready.
like that about myself
Welcome to
every
your
day.
light-hearted podcast about Warhammer. Wargaming, sorry.
At what
Wow.
point did someone go, you know that milk? Yeah. Should we just leave it until it goes really thick and
Oh
like
my God,
it's
I
got
think
mold
about
on
this,
it, and then we'll
yes.
eat it?
I think it
And
was
I'd be like, why, Dave? Because it might be nice, but it
Why
might kill us,
prehistoric
Dave.
Dave?
Nah, just leave that milk to go really chunky, and then just
I think about that
take
with
a
so
bite.
many foods.
We've all
like,
had that one mate that just like is like, oh, I might try that. And you're like, don't eat that.
You
We've
fucking
all got
idiot.
that mate. In fact,
Yeah.
you might be that mate at home.
Yeah.
You might heads up in the comments if you're that guy. Thank
And
you
the-
for
the one
forwarding
that's still-
humanity.
The one that still baffles me, right, is people like coffee, people like drinking
I was
coffee.
thinking
And it's
coffee.
like, you know what tastes better than coffee? Bats that have shat coffee. Let's drink that.
Do you not? And the cats that shat coffee. That sounds like
The
a kid's
cats that
book.
shat.
The
Wait,
cats that shat coffee.
okay, all
so
right,
there's
okay.
these cats,
Okay.
and they go around and they're like meow meow meow, and they eat
Good.
like coffee beans, like fermented coffee beans off the floor of the jungle, and they're like meow meow meow, and they eat them, and then they go ooh, and then they poop, and they poop out the seed, the coffee bean, and then some people are like, I'm gonna drink that. Do you not? Why do we know the weird fact?
Does anyone else confirm this, or am I
Yeah,
having?
no,
it?
it's
don't know,
real.
okay.
And then you buy it, and it's really
Yeah.
expensive because it's like extra fucking juicy or something.
Yeah.
I'm quite sick. This might be a fever I'm having.
No,
Does it only
no,
work
let me
with
Google it.
coffee beans? Does it work with anything else?
I don't
I,
know.
well,
Like if
I
a
think
badger
what we
eats a bunch of
need-
Toblerones, do we get like a special like
That's an-
Ferrero Rocher at the
That's
end
an
of it?
incredibly English,
Wait a
like
minute, wait a
badgers
minute.
eating a Toblerone is
Because they're quite
excellent.
nutty, aren't they?
That's what
Quite
I'm thinking.
nutty.
Like, yeah, some acorns, maybe some cob nuts or something.
Cat
Yeah,
poop
yeah, yeah.
coffee.
Ah,
I just
Cat
typed in
poop coffee.
Kopi is the I'm copying right now. Kopi is the Bahasa Indonesian word for coffee. Blah, 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 blah. It's a kind of drink made from coffee beans that were excreted whole by an animal called the civet cat.
I see.
In simpler
Secreted
words,
whole.
it's cat poop coffee.
Okay. Well, if it works, it works. It's
Is
very
that,
Wow.
is that a root vegetable?
Who is
Coffee is not a root vegetable, obviously, because it doesn't grow blessedly below the ground.
Okay.
So,
oh.
so if the fruiting body is above, it's just like,
That
what are you
sounds so
doing?
dirty when you say
Disgusting.
it like
That's
that.
immodest.
Yeah, the fruiting
For
body.
everyone to see? Oh, not a fan.
Oh
I
my
absolutely
god,
love
I'm
the
so buying into this.
I
Like,
love,
it
I love
makes
the
so much
concept.
sense when
I
you
love
say
the concept
it.
that someone walks up to Max, like, or like obviously in your Discord, and is like, Max,
Walks up to
is this a root vegetable?
They do,
and then
yes.
it's just scene silence for like 2 days as he wistfully walks down a promenade, spinning a cane, and he's like, I do wonder, having a fish and chips, giving a small boy a farthing, and he's like, boy, what do you think of Swedes?
Vegetable in 18 years, sire! He's back, baby. So what's the most controversial? Like, has there ever been like an argument about what counts as a root vegetable, and what was it?
I guess it's peanuts, isn't it?
Oh shit!
Because I would say no.
Do they grow underground in the blessed ground soil?
They're almost like a sort of lump on a root vegetable. Because a peanut is like the nut.
I didn't know they grew underground. I assumed they grew on trees.
Then the actual, what you might consider like a potato or like a turnip, is like this shriveled husk, and the peanut is taking all its energy. So really, it's more of a heretical abomination because it's not relying on its beautiful, wonderful tubers.
It's like
it's becoming like this
whatchamacallit?
This is so good.
This alien-like parasite.
Oh, parasite! That's the word.
And it forms a nasty shell. Oh, I can't
I
trust
don't like
it.
that.
For me
Don't like
personally,
that.
but I think maybe in turnip, maybe one or two could exist.
Yeah.
In the same way, like I think rhubarb.
Oh, I love
gonna ask
rhubarb.
about rhubarb.
I love
Rhubarb
rhubarb.
is not a root vegetable, but it does have really interesting roots, and will destroy your garden if you let it.
It's
sort
like
of take
proper
over.
invasive,
Yeah,
isn't
and
it?
it's
Like
huge. Look up rhubarb roots if you can. If you're, in a public library.
We don't have them here anymore.
You're in the north now, Max. Yeah, we've got concrete and maybe some crime.
Okay, okay. I don't know. Steal the Premier Inn's Wi-Fi. I don't know.
That's good. That's good.
That's
That's
But yeah,
close.
if you look at them, they are huge, nasty things.
but they're so delicious.
Exactly. So I think maybe they can have an honorary place in Turnip28.
Trish, can I do a shout out to Trish if she watches this? She supplies me with my favorite rhubarb once, and I still think about it every single day. It was like the biggest, thickest rhubarb ever, and it was so sweet. And I made a bread and butter pudding with rhubarb and cherry and like mascarpone, and it was like 10 out of 10.
Adorable story.
So thank you. So thank you, Trish, for
One
the
of the
rhubarb.
interesting things about your tale, Max, is that it sounds like I've been talking with Louise and Peachy about, and everyone else on the show. It feels like it was organic growth. Obviously, not meant to be a turnip-related pun, but thank you.
Yeah,
but like like your journey was.
You never
like,
meant it to become what it was.
Yeah, was your journey one of like Louise said, was it one of accident or was it by intent? Because you
Yes,
are quite an
it is
intended
true.
person.
I have no talent, and I purely did this by luck.
You're wrong.
Oh,
you're wrong,
that's
you're
not
wrong,
what I was
he's wrong,
suggesting.
He's wrong.
No, it's true. Essentially, I lucked out. I completely lucked out because when you're drawing things and you're making silly ideas, 90% of them will fail and no one will care. Especially with like, I don't know, social media algorithms, people will not see it.
It's such a weird idea as
when
well.
everyone gets infected by a somewhat deadly virus and is locked inside by our governments, then you kind of have to look at the man making the strange turnip because you're bored out of your mind. And then it was just like, so it was just harnessing that. And a lot of people had nothing to do and feeling awful. And, you give them something to do. And we all came together. And loads of other games, not just Turnip, came out of the lockdown.
Yeah.
And I've seen loads of careers start. So
I didn't
Was it-
know it was that recent. I thought Turnip had been around way later. Like it must have just like.
Whilst I should have been
what?
on live doing like talking on live, I was looking at Turnip.
I
stuff.
remember
were you?
my manager in marketing used to love Turnip28. So
I'm sure you have a big fan base inside of Games
Oh,
Workshop.
huge.
I don't know.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
2 Maxes.
2 Maxes.
What I meant was, my question was, is not that it was a journey of lucky accidents and you didn't know nothing.
Yeah, you're
What
not.
I meant is like, was it a case of like, you were like, oh yeah, this should be my next step? Like, is there like, 5 steps ahead that you are in your head, but you aren't in that
did
position?
you like want to make a game?
I wanted to make something that I really enjoyed playing, and there was just nothing there. So that could have been Turnip, it could have been something else, but mechanically it kind of joined together.
Tina said the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Rob asked her why she made Little Mushroom Guys, and she's like, there just wasn't anything out there.
Yeah, there was definitely a hole, because we live in a sort of strange hobby, which is like it's a monolith of one very specific type of way of doing it.
Yeah.
And Turnip is very, it's very close to it. It's very grimdark. It's sort of traditional wargamey, but there was just nothing that spoke to me. I was really inspired by the old White Dwarf magazines where you'd see like some goblins crossing a bridge to fight some elves, and it would only be 30 models.
Yeah.
And they would be not amazing models. You'd see the duplicate goblins, but
they were
all beautiful, and there was so much storytelling.
Yeah.
And I wished I could play the game like that, but it just didn't exist. It was either too complicated, or the models were too expensive, or it was too hard to paint 1,000 goblins.
Yes.
And so, like, by making something relatively quick to play, everyone is useless, all the models are rubbish. Well, no, they're actually really well sculpted. But I mean, they're painted as if by a blind man.
They're sad.
Yeah,
I love how much
no faces, which are easier to paint.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about that.
I put faces on mine. Are bad.
Yeah, so you can put a bit, but it's your choice.
But that's
it.
Yeah. So like, what I really like about what Turnip's become, being not this year's con, but the previous year's con, was seeing how people then explore that and take that. And like,
insane.
It's mad. Like conversions. So you've got that almost parchment, like blank canvas to go. You could do this, but then people go, I'm going to make it mad and like do a potato with teeth and stuff like that. It's just like insane levels.
So the diversity in hobby at TurnipCon like blew my mind, because and I think a lot of people assume that Turnip is just like very grim dark, very like grimy and stuff, but then you turn up and there's like the guy that had like the cactus skeletons.
I
love those.
There's like a giant
you should have been there. We've taken loads of videos. We're gonna do a video I think at some point as like a collab and stuff, which will be great. And I'm like super inspired to do Turnip now. It just looks so fun. I want to go for like a walk through the woods and see if I can just make a warband full of things that I just find.
That's
like it's just. I'm glad you approve, because if anyone comes into my comment section and says it's shit,
well,
Max said it's fine.
I suppose one of the interesting things is like picking like a texture or something.
Okay.
So, for example, you like sea glass.
Oh, I love
Could you make
sea
a
glass.
sea glass
Could
style
I?
like?
Could I?
Like, because my new game's a bit more aquatic. There's no water, but it's all oil. But it's very fish themed.
I want to
so
talk
I've gone
about
from
this.
roots to fish and Victorian, like this.
Like
so like sea glass would be great.
Oh my god, I love that. Oh my god, Max,
Like, could you have like sea glass like a prism, so it focuses the
I don't know,
sunlight
Max.
into a ray?
Maybe you can only kill certain things, like in Game of Thrones with sea glass instead of dragon glass.
Yeah.
And then me and Tina were gonna like do like lead sculpting and stuff, and we could. Oh my god!
Lead sculpting.
Oh my god!
Peachy activated.
Yeah. No, we were gonna get silver clay and do like sea glass goblins, and oh my god, Max!
But that's kind of the idea.
So
is
exciting.
That you want to make a game where you're not limited when you think I've got this idea, can I do it? But at the same time, you want a super strong but somewhat arbitrary constraint of root vegetables.
Yeah,
so it's
still
like
a theme.
because having an anchor to spin crazy ideas around really helps. Otherwise, you can do anything.
I would say that one of the things that from my side, because obviously a lot like we had Andy Wardle on last week, and he was like, and I was like, I don't have anything to contribute.
You designed some of his miniatures, didn't you?
Yeah,
Max designed some
we
of
should
the
talk about that definitely.
Back in the day.
But one of the things that's interesting having you on is like my day-to-day job when I'm making content is about games, like reviewing games, explaining games, talking about games, and obviously I run events all the time. I do live coverage of games, so I feel like games mechanics. And I've said this multiple times. I really want to make it like my H-Bomber Guy video essay style. Like everyone is doing wargaming wrong, and Peachy actually is, because Peachy's doing it right.
That's such a title.
Like because like
Peachy is doing it right.
Because Peachy and a lot of the like boutique games.
You said it instead of indie again.
I don't know what I am.
No one knows what it means. It's Rob's. But they've all hit on. Word.
They've all hit on. They've all hit on this concept that I think is really relevant in that. You shouldn't have to paint 700 dudes. I know, obviously, that's a little bit OTT. Like, and also your buy-in for a game being, if you're going to play Age Sigmar or 40k right now, your buy-in is probably, if you're being really sensible, like £300 to £600 to play 2,000.
Really?
Probably that's on the low end.
So
probably
if you want a 2,000 point game of, say, like, I don't know, Troggoths. You're buying big guy who's like 100. Let's say trolls. Yes, Troggoths.
Sorry, all the names have changed.
No, they have. So what trolls is like Trug £85?
Is it like 85 quid or something?
And then let's say you get like 2 lots of 3 trolls, which is like another
100
80,
quid.
Something like that. Yeah. And then
it's more. It's like 120. Yeah, you're looking.
It's a lot.
Yeah, you're looking at about £400.
Right.
Like
That's quite a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah. I didn't realise. Yeah, because
like
I try and keep it to about.
Or you could get a box of berries.
120 at
And
most.
all of my armies I bought second hand
rules
and then repainted them. So I've never spent that much on an army.
Yeah.
And I buy a lot of old miniatures, so I've never had that experience.
But Peachy's been buying like a lot of the warband style games. And yours is still like, you design minis and sell minis. I'd like to ask you about that in a minute. But in addition to that, like you are very keen to encourage kitbashing and using alternate minis, and which I think is interesting. And I think seeing what I saw at Turnip really made me feel like I was seeing what I think tabletop miniature games should be more like.
You said at one point, you were like, because you weren't there for the hype, which was like 80s Games Workshop, where everything was a bit like new and creative and a bit more like loosey-goosey. And Rob came to you, he's like, this is what it must have felt like.
Yeah, 100%.
Which is really cute.
But also, as the monolith that is Games Workshop, let's not ignore them in the room, like becomes what it is, which is super okay. The commercialization of like tabletop wargaming, like. I think that they missed the trick of what does a person want? I want to paint 10 to 20 dudes, and I want to play in an hour or two. Yeah. I think like sometimes I might want to be like, I'd like to play for the whole day, like the Two Fat Lardies game organizers. Yeah. So they do like big.
Yeah, I love the big games that spend hours and hours and hours, but I just can't do it anymore. I'm busy and I have commitments and. I'm old and crotchety.
You're not old and crotchety.
So what I'm trying to get at was, did you with Turnip? Were you like, I can see all of those problems, or were you more like, this is what I want, and therefore that's what I'll make? Does that make sense?
It's a bit half and half because, obviously you can see problems, but finding solutions for them is a lot harder. So there's plenty of things that I'd like to fix in my hobby, I suppose. For example, I make, I suppose, 3D printed miniatures, and that's nowhere near as durable as like a plastic miniature. They're still fantastic, and we're getting better and better and better. And
it's a new industry,
They're almost there, but it limits you in certain things. Like you can't do a certain huge thing because people have to print that at home, or if you're selling it, it can fail halfway through a print. Versus like a plastic molded thing, which costs thousands of pounds to set up one single sprue. But then once you've done that, it will last for ages, basically forever.
I really like metal minis.
I love metal minis, but the price of metal
is crazy.
Rocketing up. Yeah. And then you've got to transport it and so there's a million different technical problems I'd like to fix. And you can use your game's rules and art style to get around those in some ways. So
smart.
There's a lot of savvy people, I think, as well in the gaming industry, take the Perrys, for instance.
Yeah,
they do a box set that has 40 figures in it on average. From their wargaming point of view, that is the size of a brigade of infantry. So when you're painting up one regiment for your game of Waterloo, that's the size of that unit. Some people are very adamant that that's the size. So you only get one command in there, and you have 40 odd figures. But someone like me who likes to get more out of the box set, I split that in half. I do 24 and 24. They sell the commands separately, so you can buy an extra set of command. And a lot of rule systems like Osprey have kind of clocked onto that, going, you know what, Chosen Men as a rule set, you need 40 figures, buy one box of Perrys, you're sorted. That's your hobby done. £22 for a box of Perrys, £10 for a rule book.
Smart.
It's like Shatterpoint as a good example. Yeah. Warcry,
I feel like Games Workshop are starting to realize that people don't have the time or attention span or just anything to paint.
I don't even think it's attention
commonly, span. It might be with the kids these days being the way they are with their TikToks and whatnot.
I mean, you have to remember
I'm like that.
It's genuinely really tough getting that much stuff done.
Yeah.
And painted because I'm from that side. Peach, you're literally someone who cranks armies out like a machine.
And I literally couldn't paint an army these days. I'm about to do a video where I try and paint an orc quickly, and I'm dreading it.
Oh really?
Yeah, because I'm.
Do you know what you need to do?
Yeah.
Move your arm faster.
Shut up.
And your brain slower.
Reminder that.
But the problem is, you are both from Warhammer. Essentially, the environment, not just Games Workshop.
That was my hobby. Yeah.
The ecosystem.
Yeah.
And there's an expected level of quality there
yes.
because the models are drop dead gorgeous, incredibly complicated, and sculpted by incredibly talented people.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you're a presenter there in a YouTube sort of environment.
Yeah.
So they're all trying to be show-offs and best painters. And then, so when you paint a quick orc, it's not just
it doesn't look good.
Paint it green. It has to be presentable to even not just as a YouTube thumbnail, but your own internal standards.
I completely feel that way.
When you go to the grubby side of miniature wargaming, when there's nothing really happening, we're all just messing around. The standard is lower. No one cares, or at least I want to lower that standard to back when I was a 10-year-old and slapping on massive googly eyes, and for that to be okay. because it should be okay.
We
and
had
it
a
should be
discussion
enjoyable.
about this the other day, and you said something. You're like,
Painting
it
shit.
doesn't need to be like things should be good to be shit.
Set out to paint it kind of bad.
Yeah, this was
but
it.
with one little element that's quite good.
Yes.
Say a little like a heraldic shield, freehand, maybe some
Or the face.
daggers on the head, some checkboard. But the rest of it can be kind of gross. And if you set out to make it bad-ish, and then you'll succeed, and then you can be like, oh well.
You don't get disappointed in yourself at the end.
You can set out to be really good at something, and it will be really good if you try really hard. But that's essentially the same as setting out to do something badly. Like, you still can succeed in it, and so you can get the reward of succeeding. One will be much more impressive to other people, but does that really matter when you're playing a hobby of toy soldiers for yourself? Like,
You know,
Damn, Max.
I don't know.
Damn.
It's just
When
like,
you,
just enjoy your fucking self.
yeah.
Like, there's so much pressure to do things.
I
and just,
feel
like,
that pressure,
relax.
yeah.
When you were
No,
talking
I've never
about that the
relaxed.
other day, it reminded me of like the Blanchitsu style, because
Yeah.
I'm not saying that he, like Blanchitsu and those that follow that style, paint naff. They paint really well, but they tend to swamp it with
style.
washes and oils.
Yeah, yeah.
But they have like the coat of arms,
They're
which looks
very
really
good
neat.
at it, though.
Or like the stripy trousers and stuff. But yeah,
Or the very
it has that same
sepia
kind
like
of vibe.
tones. I couldn't paint like that because
It
I
is a
overthink
style.
everything.
So going back to my
Yeah.
point about like the Perry box sets and stuff, one of the things I really like about Turnip is you can buy a box set of like Perry miniatures, and for someone like me who's got like, so when I decided to do a Turnip
Yeah.
force, I was like, I'm going to buy a box of Perry War the Roses because I've got a million Napoleonics, so I've got all the arms for the guns sorted. I've got because you get so many spares in the box because you either have marching hands or like at port or
Yeah,
charging
it's such
hands
a good
or
kit.
shooting
It's
arms.
amazing.
So you get loads of spares, loads of spare hats and helmets and stuff. So for me, I had like a load of spares that I could just swap out arms and this, that, and the other. But anyone starting off, you're probably looking at 2 boxes.
I think so, yeah.
But then you might do a swap, like one mate gets a box, the other mate gets another, like one gets the Napoleonics.
Well, about that.
Oh.
The one thing I really dislike is the 2 armies in a box with the implication that you swap it with a
Yes,
friend,
yeah,
and
yeah.
that never happens.
Yeah.
You just are left with an army that is there to tempt you to start collecting another army.
I
and
agree.
that's
Oh,
one
is
thing
that a
I
thing?
try
I
and
agree.
avoid is that sort of like
share this box set we've made.
Well, it's more. It's like it's constant pressure to keep consuming stuff that you don't quite need, and like because I'm not a
Interesting.
giant public company, I can take risks and be a bit less pushy.
Yeah.
And so like I said, like Chris says, like 2 boxes and you're done. Just leave. You don't have to buy my models. You can just play my game. My game rules are free. I've started making more and more free minis you can download.
You're a generous
So
god, Max.
It's not really generosity.
Kind
It's more
God.
just like say your YouTube videos aren't behind a paywall.
No, I put
So, like,
I put
why
my
should-
like painting tutorials behind a paywall, but I'm like
Yeah,
I'll
that's, like,
always
still
I
not good
got-
enough for some people.
I
though.
know it isn't, but I always wanted to make free content because when I
yeah.
was at masterclass, I was a bit bummed out that I was constantly behind a paywall the whole time. I felt like I wanted to like talk to people and connect with them.
Yeah.
and
Basically, everything I make is free.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
absolutely
what-
everything. And
yeah.
and someone once asked me, I love everything I do. I love the stuff I do for Old World, like Age Sigmar, Honest Wargamer stuff. This is the only thing I do where we do like a Patreon video
I
after.
thought you did.
Sometimes I do stuff,
Okay.
but like it's very rare. But then what's really nice is generally, and there are tiers like join a Discord, watch a video.
There are tiers.
And then there's like you get exclusive access to videos. But generally, it's people like I like that thing that person is making,
It's
and
support.
I will support it. And like I've always worked along that method. And while there's been times where it's been not great, like it's slowly grown over time because people are like, I like what you do.
Yeah.
I'll support what you do.
Yeah.
And that's what I do. That's
I don't
why I
get it.
support loads.
I
of
don't
couldn't-
understand why.
I couldn't do it without my patrons.
Yeah,
They are
same.
the
Aw.
lifeblood. So it's not really a free
Love you,
game. It is
Patreons.
supported by hundreds of people who literally just like throw me a few quid and think that it's kind of cool.
They
And
love you.
because that's a community, isn't it? It's like they are infinitely inspiring me. Like they'll make something that I would never think of. I can get to write rules for it. If it's a good idea, we could joke around. They can pressure me. I can tell them to back off. But like, I don't know. It's a community effort,
Yeah.
and I quite like that. And because that is what wargaming is about, it's like
Yeah,
a community. It's not just you making models and buying 2 boxes. The sharing your friend is just that you have a friend to play with.
Yeah,
You've got
yeah.
You've got 2 people coming together, and it's really interesting.
So
What
how's that? Sorry, Peachy.
No, I was literally
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
say what I want to do with these 2
Yeah.
is bring in, because I've got a load of like Frostgrave, Stargrave, and like Napoleonic stuff. Is like go, here's a bunch of sprues in the middle for Napoleonics. Let's just make some warbands.
Oh, I'd love to
Here's
do
a bunch of like,
that.
because you get so many
Like a
duplicate
kit
sprues.
bash.
Like in a box
Yeah,
of Stargrave crew, you get 4 sprues. In the scavengers, you get 4 sprues.
For what? For turnip?
No, just in general.
Just in general.
I already know.
It's just fun.
I'd love to do that.
Yeah.
Just have like a Kitbash day where we put all the sprues in the centre. Yeah. I used to. What, like Scrap Demon? That's like my favourite thing.
Yeah, I mean, it could be like, today we're going to do a Frostgrave warband. Here's all the sprues for Frostgrave. Here's some Stargrave ones because you get cool.
It's like playing with Lego and making your guy.
It is.
Yeah.
And that's what I like about Turnip. And I think that's the great thing. And that's what hooked me, was just seeing like that conversion. Because
the creativity.
No offense
wild.
to Steve and Duncan, but when we used to play our Napoleonic games, they were very much like, I'm doing the British, they're doing the Russians, Duncan's doing the French.
I love that.
Peachy, just eyeball the camera, call them fucking nerds.
Duncan!
We're all fucking nerds.
Get on the show and defend yourself like a man.
There's a good rule
Louise.
system called Cookie Dice, where it's like based on TV shows from the 80s and stuff. Love Cookie Dice. So they kind of like spread the wings a bit. But I wanted to do like because there's so many German satellite nations that are just like duchies and dukedoms that are tiny, something like tiny. Like
German satellite nations.
Yeah, because during like the Napoleonic Wars, like they were all, Germany wasn't Germany, it was a confederation of the Rhine, which was just loads of small
you've got Hanover,
dukedoms, duchies.
Prussia.
Yeah, and Prussia was...
Prussia's the big one,
wasn't it? Prussia was the big one. Austria was the big one. Then eventually it wasn't until like, was it the Franco-Prussian War that they became like... Before that was Germany was Germany.
Wow.
But yeah, I want to do like this like random sort of almost like, you know, you get your fairy tale castles in Germany, like Bavaria and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I just want to do like my Battenbergers, which was just...
I love the Battenbergers.
They've got this coat of arms of the Battenberg.
Like
they've got like pink and yellow outfits, and that's that dukedom. And then Duncan does, I don't know, he's doing like the Schwarzkopf based off like the hair designer or whatever it is, and just makes
that's funny.
You know, just
like
random
that.
nonsense that made no sense, but just a bit of fun. But then Turnip appeared, and I was like, that's my bag.
That's cool.
Okay,
That's my bag. So I like making up stuff. Is basically what I'm getting at, and you did a really good thing that hooked me in. So
and would you? So how would you? Like, I know you've talked about it already, but how would you say that like being able to go your own way because you've had the backing of Patreon? Yeah. Like how was that?
It's a completely new style of working, I think. You are, I guess, much more able to take risks, I think. Because like I don't do a thing where you get a certain amount of minis every month. It's not like a service. It's more just like, it's like busking.
They're supporting a thing.
You see a kind of like grimy guy playing a guitar, and you give him a $5, and then he plays the worst song you've ever heard, and you're like, I really regret that, and that's kind of my game. But you go home, and then it's in your head, and you're like, oh God, maybe I'll buy a tape of that song. And then you're like, oh, that was good. And that would have never existed if you didn't give that man £5. Give me £5.
Give me $5 if you're rich.
That's happened to me. I'm like, I walked down the street. There's some guys busking. This is a few years ago.
I thought you were going to say like people just throw money at you and like sing you a song.
But they were just busking, and they were just coming up with some pretty wicked like just folk stuff. And I was just like, great, there's a tenner. And they were like, bro, this is so much. Have a CD. I was like, thanks, that's great.
So I had a huge absence a minute ago, which was I had a thread, and it went. So I kind of backed up by saying something else.
Have you found it?
I've remembered it.
Get it. Quickly before it goes.
We're ready.
Which is my point about Patreon. So you know, like Patreon support and stuff like that, and you know, there is things are free, but it's not free because that's why I'm doing PeachCon. It's like for me, it's like
a gift back.
It's a gift back, but they've paid for it at the same time because they've kind of supported, but I want to repay that support with something free, but they've kind of still paid for it.
Yeah, it's like when it's like buy like 2 for 1, but it's a bit more expensive.
Yeah, but I mean, to me, it's like you kind of get an extra. It's not a month's free because you can't give 3 months worth of Patreon kind of support, but you can just sort of go, I can pay back in some way, which is this event that I'm going to, which you're welcome to attend. By
Please
all
come
means.
to PeachyCon.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I find it fascinating that like people just randomly support you, want to help you out as best as they can. And the thing that I find really sweet as well, and I've had this with patrons, I don't know if you guys have, people message you when they quit the Patreon to say, I'm really sorry.
I feel really bad when they do that because
like,
I really don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, it's so okay.
Yeah, I'm overwhelmed. Like, they're like, I'm sorry, I can't do this anymore. I'm like, I can't believe you did it ever.
Yeah,
like, that's insane. Like, you're the best human. Thank you.
Like in my Discord, and I love my Discord is like, I think my favorite thing that's come out of me, like, obviously everything else is great, but my little Discord community make me, every month I get really emotional for no reason, and then I just go into their
no reason.
And then I just go into my Discord and I'm like, hello, I'm crying, like thinking about it now because I don't know, for reasons. And then like I just go in there and I'm just like, you guys are the nicest people. And those are all people that support me on Patreon, because if you go on Patreon, you can join my Discord. And I think it's just like the nicest and busiest Discord I've ever been in my life, and everyone's so friendly and sweet to each other, and I'm just like so overwhelmed.
Same, yeah.
I miss streaming though. I want to get back to that. I've said that before a few times.
I actually admitted on Tuesday, so I
yeah?
have like basically I have my Discord is like partitioned, and if you join at any of the tiers above like the bottom tier, you kind of get the Omni package. But the concept is that if you only want Honest Wargamer stuff, you pay the very lowest tier and you're in that section of the Discord. And if you only want Square-based stuff, which is old world content, which is I make, you're only in that section, right? And you're like, that's fine, right? And that's good. And then some people are like, I like all of it, Rob. And the price is equal. Does that make sense? So buying both. In fact, actually, I think buying both somehow works out cheaper than the Omni. Oh, I can't remember which one.
So still like 3.3, it's like a $5 or something like that.
Yeah. So there's like you get access to more, but not really. But I'm now uncomfortable with how many people are in the Square-based section that we have. It's loads, and they're like, and I'm like this. And I was going to ask you about this. I'm now starting to get to the stage where I'm like, I'm uncomfortable with how many people are in here. This is a lot, you know, and I'm like, you guys also know a lot.
You must feel like that.
So how do you feel about that?
Because like, how many people do you think are Turnip enthusiasts?
I don't.
I could tell you, Ali
It must
Morrison's
be.
one.
I don't.
Yeah, Ali Morrison's one. John Blanche is one.
I don't want to think about it. I don't.
So many people
No, I just
love
want to make
Turnip.
because I'm really just making it for me. So
That's I was going
Correct
to ask
decision.
you about that because like you started making, and this is related to that question, but like more specific. So it must be weird that this is something small you just wanted to make for like yourself.
It's a joke.
And
The name is a joke. It's a stupid idea.
Yes.
I quite like the art, but
yeah,
Why
that's
is the
great.
name
Don't
a
take it
joke?
too-
Why is the name a joke?
Turnip28.
because there was an amazing community that came out of Inquisitor.
Oh, Inquisitor 28.
Yeah,
Inquisitor
yeah.
28.
Could you explain it more, please, for me and people at home?
Inquisitor was a semi-popular game from
Yeah,
the
yeah.
90s. I
Yeah.
think.
Larger scale
Bigotures,
miniatures.
the correct way to do it.
Bigotures,
Statuesque miniatures in 40k. And over the years, it got discontinued, but that Blanchitsu or like grimdark style continued and became the 28 community. There was Dark Age of Sigmar 28, Inquisitor 28, a few other. There was Planet 28, which is a crazy little game which I love. And the problem was but it was a very niche community of incredibly talented artists. And I thought, I'm not very good at painting. Relative to them,
Thank you.
I'm quite proud of some of the things I do.
You've done some lovely
I
little
thought,
cows.
you know what? Ha ha ha! Turnip 28. As in, you're so serious about like cool guys with cool guns and skulls. What about
Posers.
this turnip?
Posers.
And because it's alliteration and it's very funny. For me, I don't know. I think, and then,
I like it. It's got
and
a
then
great ring to it.
Then loads of other people start making 28 games, which is amazing. Because I'm certainly derivative of the 28 community.
Yeah.
So we all kind of made this strange community, and we're all different in our own little way. We're all sort of joined up.
There's a
it's
magazine, a guy from Finland, 28
28
Mag, is that a thing?
28 Mag, which is it's like it's
Shout
not,
out to 28
it's
Mag,
not
great guys, great
related
guys.
to me. Like I barely have time to read it. But it's like it's the feel of it.
But I think it's smart as well because you know what you're getting. Because Inquisitor 28 is Inquisitor, but 28mm scale, right?
Yeah, mine's
Turnip 28 is Turnip, but 28
Is it
mil
28?
scale.
It's
When
not
are we getting
even
Turnip
really.
54?
It is.
Yeah,
but
thank you.
It is 28 scale, but
Oh, good.
not really. It's more of a joke, I think.
Yeah.
It's just
Well,
It's
like,
catchy
it
though.
works.
It
It works.
sounds good.
it's the idea because it implies that there was once a larger 54 scale turnip that was discontinued, which I quite enjoy.
But
Or it's not
yeah,
been
what I
made.
was getting at is like, how does it feel? Because like maybe relinquishing, I don't know how much control over your own IP you've relinquished like other people to do stuff like run events, make artwork, make miniatures. Because I'm finding that with Rascal Town is that I don't have the time. I'm lucky I've got a sculptor, but I want to do all the illustration work for it. I want to do videos for it. And that's just time I don't have. So like, I want Tom to start doing illustration for me. And I'm like, that's a lot of control that I'm giving up to someone else. And I'm a little bit worried. Like, how have you ever done that? Because you design miniatures as well.
I do.
You do everything.
I make miniatures. I make the rules.
You do the art?
But I do the art. I
Okay,
do the
so you don't have
writing,
that
I
issue.
do loads of others. Yeah, so I do basically
Everything.
but I also commission people. So Moritz from Black Crab Art is, I suppose, the most common, I guess, illustrator. He's got a very sketchy, interesting medieval style.
Love.
He's fantastic. But
You've got Saint Decent that does your...
Saint Decent, yes, who does my sculpting.
Yeah.
And then obviously Alex from Warp Miniatures does some of the sculpting.
I didn't know he did that until recently.
He's more of the cartoony approach.
Love it.
And then it's often sort of combining that to get my sort of overall what I like,
Yeah.
which is sort of semi-realistic, more like Perry's, but with a bit of more cartoony thing to it.
Yeah.
So
Can we also talk about how hot Alex is? Such a good-looking fella.
He has the best hair.
Just
He has
incredible
I
hair.
don't know. I think Rob has the best hair because I
don't know.
get to braid it and it's so
You've got
soft
good
and
hair.
nice.
He's got, no offense, Peach.
Should we get
but
Alex
like,
on the
I've seen
show?
Alex
You
and
need
I've seen you.
Alex
You've
on
both
the
got
show.
good hair. I've got hair envy.
Well, it's not your fault, mate. It's the lead poisoning you got.
I am
You're 7.
balding. I have like brown smoke that kind of clings to the mountain of my hair. And then I just see Rob and Alex just like flicking their locks. And it's just
Bastards.
disgusting. Should we get Alex on Juggz?
We should absolutely should get
please
Alex
come
on
on our
Juggz.
show.
She's
Should,
great.
absolutely. But yeah, control is an interesting thing. Here's an interesting thing.
Yeah,
that I
yeah.
thought. When you're doing a Patreon
Yeah.
and when you're doing Discord, there's a nasty little like pressure either through that
Oh, yeah?
company or just I don't know. There feels like that to tear off things to make other supporters better than people.
I don't agree with
I
that.
don't like
so
that.
personally,
Yeah.
I feel that that's not good for my community. Maybe
I
it works
don't
for other
like it
ones.
either.
I don't-
agree.
I don't-
So
I don't
everyone
agree.
is the same. You're all Turnip things. You like whether you give me £10 million and I'll make you a gold turnip, whatever.
Will you?
Or you give me nothing. You steal all my rules and pirate everything. As long as we're all playing together and having fun, it's like we're all
I don't
the
want
same.
someone to steal your rules and pirate you.
But the things they're free anyway. So it's like
That's
doesn't-
true.
it
That's
doesn't
true. That's
matter.
true.
I honestly don't
So-
think. So based on my experience in that space, what I think is that people all have different means for a start.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
so what
Yeah,
is
yeah.
£5 for one person might be like, this is me like. Them giving you all the money in the world, like for the lowest access they can.
Yeah.
Whereas someone else who drops your very highest tier might be like, that feels like nothing to me.
Yeah.
And so already there's like the attribution of scale
Yeah.
is already off for you personally.
Yeah, it doesn't work like that.
because they themselves already choose that value. And then also ultimately, like, it's just super important. I've been trying to express this to Louise and Peach. And something I've had to learn, I was really terrible at it. And shout out to Tom, who's always helped me with this.
Thanks, Tom.
And
You help us with so much
And
of
loads of
everything.
other people have really helped me establish my own value, is that if you do some labor, you deserve to be paid for that labor. Like, and you get to set what that labor costs. And
I hate
if
that.
it ends up costing
hate
more, and everyone can't afford it, that's sad, but everyone can't afford everything. Like, and that's
Oh,
the
I hate it though.
Yeah, but like you can't create stuff if you don't have any money.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
I know.
you have to, like, you can't.
I know, but
And that's really hard to work
it's
out.
so easy working for a
And I
company.
feel guilt about it all the time.
Me
Yeah,
too.
yeah, yeah.
I feel guilt about. Do you feel guilt about it?
I work in a different way, I think. Like, as a commission artist, you have to... Well, when I was before Turnip, I was a commission artist.
course,
did
yeah.
commission, did, like, concept art. And I found that, although I really enjoyed the job, it was very stressful. And working out how much you should get paid
Hate it.
was a bastard.
The worst.
It's
And
honestly
people
hate
don't
it.
want to... Because art is basically superfluous in most ways. You don't really need it.
People
So
don't
it's
understand why it
very hard
costs
to
as much
value.
as it
So
does. Yeah.
this way
Everything
now
is
that
art, right?
Yeah,
I have
yeah.
to make something so good that you can't live without it.
Yeah.
And that's the way
Oh
I
my
work.
God, I love
so
that.
it's a good driving method.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like you don't. It's not just I'm selling you the next thing, and I'm going to arbitrarily say you can't use this edition, and all these models are out, so you have to buy new ones. I want to be like, right, I'm going to make the best thing you've ever seen. And then you're going to buy it
I
because
really
it fits
like
your
that.
niche exactly what you want.
Yeah.
And the only way I can do that is by making something that I really want, and like that I need to exist, and I get that
Yeah.
craving that it exists.
I feel like that about Rascal Town
Yeah,
because
exactly.
they're all of the designs so far have just been things that I drew for fun because I really just wanted to draw them. And I'm like, at some point I'm gonna have to start designing for purpose, and I'm like, ooh, that's a bit weird. But no, I like that. I like the idea where it's like, well, I'm making something that is like so awesome that no one else does it.
Yeah, I
yeah,
think
that
that's-
makes me feel better about.
I feel like
myself.
that's how I
like
felt about
that.
the Pirate Rascal. Like when
Did
I
you
saw
like
it,
him?
oh my god,
He's
Is he your
so good.
favorite?
Yeah, the
Do you like
Pirate
him?
Rascal. But then the
Stop
Pirate Rascal,
crying.
if no one has seen, Louise like has a bunch of miniatures
He's
called
like,
Rascal Town, and then the Pirate Rascal. But then I hadn't seen the base,
Yeah,
for it with the rascal put in the base.
Oh, the scenic one that Tom did. That was all Tom's design as well. That was like me and Tom's first proper collab. Because I always design the goblins and then he sculpts them. But with this one, I was like, Tom, go crazy. And he did, and he painted it as well.
But the pirate
So
minis,
good.
the pirate paint job is my favourite one so far. Although I kind of like Grampus. But then when I saw the base, I was like, holy shit. Like, that was like, I was like, that, I wanted it. I was like, it's really cool. And it was really nice.
You got it, you make them.
Well,
you can have one if you want.
true. But like, it was just really interesting seeing something that's like, you know, independently created, that wasn't designed again. So I was like, when I was at the stall, I was like, you can print that base, you can print it, and they're like, oh, amazing, what's it do? I'm like, just fucking looks good. Like, that's it. Like, the total is no utility.
No, that does bring a point up.
Oh yeah.
So you made a really cool base.
Yeah.
If you can somehow make rules, you can elevate a really good model into something that comes alive.
Yes.
And you can make something like, I don't know, it just has a special thing with wargaming that I really enjoy, where you get these really specific and heartfelt miniatures, and then you add maths to them, and like you can tell stories through that. And
but isn't that like exactly what we were saying with Tina? Tina had a story, and she's like, but I need to make the mini so I can play with it. And we were talking about creating minis. I agree with you 100%.
Max, will you write my Rascal Town game? Because that's the vibe that I want.
No, because I'm not a designer. I've made one game. I had a lot of help from One Page Rules, who makes some really nice games.
Good guys.
And a load of other community feedback, and it's kind of cobbled itself there.
It seems really fun to play.
My question was how you went about.
Yeah, just a lot of hard work. I'm at the moment writing rules for Swill, which is like a skirmish, I suppose more like Necromunda more time.
Do you want to introduce Swill to us as a concept? Because this is not Turnip, is it? Is it Swill28 or is it
Turnip28 Swill?
Is it like a sub thing of Turnip28?
So like Age of Sigma, you got Warcry.
So it's
kind of thing.
So wait, is it in the Turnip universe?
It is. It's deep under somewhere probably near Blackpool. Deep under the earth, all remains of Blackpool. In a horrible city, sort of adrift on like an ocean of oil, almost endless ocean of oil under the ground, so no water, and they survive off sort of a big floating mass of dying oil fish.
I hate that.
And they're incredibly Victorian, incredibly obsessed with death and cigarettes, and everyone's smoking
cigarettes next to oil.
So
it's very wet.
It was very oily. So the problem is
there's no water.
They've got a tiny the trickle, which is probably just like a small loo drain that's coming out from the surface world.
Oh, nice.
It's not a nice place.
No. Okay, but it's never a nice place.
But yeah, it probably does explode every so often. It's constantly falling down. The bricks are painted on. Everyone's having a terrible time.
And just like chain smoking.
It's a great little place to have a skirmish game.
Yeah.
And
what is it inspired that
Swill.
What's inspired you to move, not move on,
YouTubers. Bloody YouTubers. Because
Sorry.
YouTubers have no time. They are the most stressed people I've ever met.
I might die in the next 5 years.
They are.
So relaxed.
Rob has pneumonia right now.
I used to have hair 2 weeks ago.
Like lost.
Louise is a mess.
Exactly.
It's just a mess.
So when you present something, but it's not just YouTubers, but predominantly YouTubers, people who have less time.
Parents.
Yeah. Can't make 30 people because this is the scale thing. It's like, sure, I can't make a giant Horus Heresy army as much as I'd like to. I can make a Turnip army, which is smaller, about 30 people.
Yeah.
But some people can't even do that. So 5 miniatures to 10 miniatures.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can condense the experience to make it smaller. And that way I can introduce more interesting factions without taking the risk of having to do an entire army.
Yeah.
I can do some like salt encrusted skeletons, maybe some strange like boiled sweets style guys who make like humanoid walls out of creature sort of candy. I can make I don't know, I wanted to make some soaked up bathhouse like barbarians.
What are they
who
called
are, like,
when people
skating
die
around
and
on,
like they get
bathhouse
covered
mosaics.
in soap? Is it saponification?
Yeah, saponification.
Yeah, it's that when people die and then they turn into soap.
Yeah, that's what we're going to happen to us. It's
yeah,
going to be
people
great.
die and then they turn into soap.
Yeah, and then you can sort of use them on your armpits.
Yeah,
is that not an episode of Doctor Who?
No, it's real life. I can't remember. It's saponification.
I think so. Soap is made from animal fat.
Yeah,
so
it's when people die and they die in a bog, and then like all the fats from their body go on the outside, and they make like human soap out of themselves.
Yeah, and that's what matey is made out of.
Yeah.
Louise, you've so far talked about cat poo, coffee, and human soap.
Yeah. I know a lot of things. like a lot of people's fun facts are things like, did you know that like Fight Club is based on a book? And I'm like, I fucking knew that. Do you want some actual fucking facts?
Okay, thanks, Louise.
Like, do you want some real fucking deep shit?
So your concept is that like.
Smaller, tinier.
Well, I've always thought the perfect ecosystem for games would be your gang, gang sort of squad stuff.
Yes.
Where you individualize the people inside of it. Then that squad could go into your kind of
Big guy
skirmish squad game to sort of medium size up to like a massed fantasy battle game or massed battle game sort of thing. And it's odd that no one has. I'm not saying no one because obviously you've done it, and maybe there are other games that have done it. But like the very concept that people don't. You're like, cool. I want the Napoleonics. You're like, cool. Do you want to do like a small band of Napoleonics?
It doesn't work because because you have to. That's a great idea in abstract or is in like a single person, but a community exists. And so this is the thing I had with Warhammer Fantasy when I was really into it back in the day, was that there was a points limit. The buy-in wasn't like 500 points. It was probably about 2,000 points. Because that's what everyone was playing.
Yeah.
And they didn't want to play a smaller version of the thing. So if you do the scaling thing, your community will scale with you. And it will reach a sort of plateau. Not the biggest and not the smallest. And so most people will just join in at the middle ground.
Yeah.
And so really the other games kind of whittle and die. So you kind of have to separate them in the same way Necromunda doesn't translate into 40k as easily. And
But do you think that has to happen, or do you think just no one has really?
I think it does. I would say that it does have to happen because it's just your hobby journey of collecting models.
Yeah.
You can't lose models unless you destroy them. You will always just keep amassing more and more, and your army will grow bigger. So the only way to kind of do it would be to have loads of factions that you could easily start over and over again.
I have like an army of... I have like a couple of big armies, but then just like hundreds, if not thousands of miniatures across like everything because I just pick whatever up because I like it.
Yeah. To kind of answer your question, I kind of do that, but it's a self-driven thing. So like Napoleonics, for instance, there's 3 different companies that make rule sets. Well, actually, Joe McCulloch does Silver Bayonet, but that's by Osprey, which also do Chosen Men. Then you've got Sharp's Practice, which is a different group of guys. And then you've got Black Powder, which is Warlord. Yeah. They're all 3 different scale games, so 8 figures, 40 figures, hundreds of figures. But I make my regiments and armies so I can use them in all of them. So all my Black Powder stuff, which is like big units of like 24 figures, they're all individually based. Yeah. So then I can then take them off and use them for the smaller game, but then take them off and use them for the
You're very good at that because you've got a video. Have you done it where you're like the multi-use armies?
I haven't done that video yet, but I'm working on that one.
You should, yeah.
But I do have this whole sort of like I don't. People are like, you should play Blood Bowl, but I have no other purpose for Blood Bowl in my life other than
what,
that
like
one.
The miniatures?
Yeah, so most of my miniatures have double uses, triple uses.
Yeah, it's really cool.
So if I do like Necromunda, I can use them in 40k, I can use them in Kill Team. If I do Warcry, I can use them in Age of Sigmar, I can use them in Frostgrave.
It's really smart.
It's just like when I'm looking at like, because I mainly operate around like the most standard game systems, 40k, Age of Sigmar, Old World, 2,000 points, off we go. Yeah, I'm at like, the commercial edge of what gaming is. Yeah. And like for me, I feel like it's a little bit I would love the idea that I could buy. There's this really great set of like Fire Slayers, right? The Warcry War set, the Vulcan Flame set.
Which ones? With the little...
with the one with the Magma Draft.
The little stonky boy.
Yeah, absolutely. 11 out of 10 sculpts, which is great. And I would love, I know Warcry exists, but I'd love the idea of a game where I play with those that are individual. Then when I put that unit into my 2,000 point game, I understand their individualism. Yes. Does that make sense?
Yeah. They're kind of like squads of... Like Gaunt's Ghosts, you get the box set, but you know each one individually because
I like the idea of regiments of renown, but because armies are like armies back in the day, and I know that it was just any old povo English fella. They'd stick in a red jacket and they'd put on a line.
Love them.
I get it, but they'd have standards. That's the concept. I'm just saying, push out beyond that a little bit, and having a bunch of different regiments would be really interesting.
I totally understand where you're coming from, and I'm really excited by that because I used to like try and do that with my own games where that they've earned their stripes, so to speak, and now they've joined the big battle to go off and do like the big mercenary fight. They used to do a thing for Warhammer Quest years ago. You know when you did Warhammer Quest in the old days, in the 90s and stuff? Your character, once it's got to the journey's end, there was like rules in White Dwarf where you could use him as the character in your Warhammer game. So it became like your champion or your general. And I was like, that makes so much sense to be able to like take them on this journey, dungeon diving, to then become like a badass hero to then lead an army.
That's such a good little story.
It also like produces scale, right?
Yeah.
Like I think we talked the other week about the Cities of Sigmar canon crew. There's a fella just drinking a beer, and then they're like, right, you need to shoot. Him. You need to shoot now at the god of death. Yeah, like
the drunk guy from the village is like, go shoot Nagash.
Yeah, exactly.
With your cannon.
Yeah, exactly. So the scale feels almost silly, like at that point. Yeah. Whereas like being able to narrow that, individualize them, I think is quite interesting. Yeah. But like, so with Swill, does Swill move into Turnip?
So it will eventually. So you start off you're basically like 5 to 7 gross Victorians with fish on their heads.
With fish on their heads or fish for heads? Are they fish people?
You might confuse. There are some fish people, but they are mostly just fish enthusiasts.
Oh my god, that's so unsettling. That's
it's
just
the fashion.
So many fishes.
It's not even Innsmouth. It's just they just love it.
They love it.
They just fish the fursuits.
Gets rid out the smog or something. I don't know. But eventually, you'll have enough fishermen, or at least I will release enough fishermen, that you can make a turnip-sized army with like dreadnoughts made of tin cans, like tin fish, and then they're sort of like a bit more sort of industrial because they're Victorian, whereas Turnip is Napoleonic, so a bit more technologically advanced, a bit more crazed, a bit more evil-ish, a bit more poisoned in their minds.
I love that.
That would be fun because then I can have a faction, a separate faction in my world, which is because Turnip, although it is quite eclectic, it is in one single tiny place in Belgium, whereas this place this has its own rules and themes, which is quite fun.
I love it.
But it won't be like, I don't think, or at least I tried to, I don't think it is possible to make the scaling game of our dreams. I think because wargaming involves so much manual labor that to do it collaboratively with so many other people is very, very difficult. Because you have to be painting at the same time, you will have to have the same amount of income, you have to organize a bloody game.
Yeah, and you have to have the same amount of time to do it.
Because like each certain game is a different set of rules that is very similar. But it is it's maybe better to have that within a single game, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So you can make mechanics where the single guy shooting at the god of death can roll in a certain way and get that lucky shot and create that story in that game, rather than relying on an entire build-up to do that. I think you have to have like a little snapshot of that dream. Yeah. That dream can never happen. We can never get our perfect wargaming campaign.
What's the like Turnip equivalent of like the big fight?
The big fight.
Yeah, well, like what's the biggest thing?
Most people are already dead.
Isn't it the terrain? Isn't that the big fight?
Yeah, just fighting.
So it would be probably two cults of sort of very, 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 I don't know.
The factions are cults, are they?
So the faction, each one is like a charismatic cult leader.
Yeah.
Obsessed in a very specific way. So it might be snails, it might be toads.
And these are the different regiments, aren't they?
Yeah. So you start
is that
with
what they're called?
So I tried to make it incredibly scalable. So you start with just like a few units.
Yeah.
No theming, no faction. They're just some guys in a field. You can choose maybe some shooty guys, some melee guys, some skirmishers, and it kind of feels, it's like a parody of a Napoleonic battle.
Yeah.
It's not rank and flank, it's very blobby, it's very easy to get into. And then you're like, okay, that was fun. Now I'm going to add an insane toad man in a rabbit suit who reverses all the rules.
Todd!
Who called Todd.
I love Todd, he's
or
my
you might be
favorite.
like, okay, maybe I want a giant elephant. And then you get the giant elephant, you make it yourself out of, I don't know, Playmobil elephant. And then it changes the theming and mechanics of your army. And I was really inspired by Cosmic Encounter, the board game.
Oh God,
I've never played it.
It's a 1970s game.
I've never heard of it.
It's a
what is it?
fantastic game where you get you're basically playing like a stripped-down version of poker.
Okay.
To sort of take over planets using nipple pieces.
Nipple pieces.
But the great thing is that you have like 100 aliens, 150 aliens, with millions of expansions. And each alien changes the game in a fundamental way.
This sounds
fun. And so each player would have a different sort of theming, and you can just keep swapping out. So every game is a new theme, and I wanted to try and feel that. Yeah. Same with maybe like Age of Empires 2.
Yeah.
Like the gaming
now
where like it's a type of game where all the mechanics from the factions are very similar. So if you played one, you can play them all.
But they fundamentally change.
So one little aspect without having to learn the entire game again.
Yeah.
Whereas maybe in something like, to use a more relevant term, I suppose maybe 40k is kind of like that now sometimes.
Yeah.
It's where each like faction, say the Tau, play in quite different ways to the Harlequins.
Yeah.
Or who play very different from the Imperial Guard, in such a way that it can be very difficult to swap between them.
Yeah.
In Turnip, it's very, very easy to swap between them.
That's good.
You add a crab, your army plays entirely differently. You take out the crab, you add 2 units of pikemen, you've got a completely different army. You take out them, you put in little vegetable tokens, and now suddenly you're running a competition gardening event in the middle of a war game.
Is that
You're basically playing Catan in your war game, which is fun.
I love.
So I think something that I really like about Turnip, and you might have to correct me because it's been a little while since I've played a game, but one of the things I really liked, and it's such a simple mechanic, is you have a Toff and Toads, is that right?
Yeah.
So your Toff is your leader and your Toads are like your lieutenants, right?
Yes.
And a Toff can have 2 units and the Toads have 1 each?
Yes, yeah. So the army building is like how you would build a cult. You're charismatic enough, you get some followers, you're like, oh yeah, I've got a great idea about radishes. And they're like, yes, my life is already miserable, let's make it worse. And they join you.
But it's that mechanic
and
that's
then
really
your
simple.
toadies are like, you're like underlings. And
Yes,
maybe your best
yeah.
mate, and he's like, oh God, I can get something off this guy. He brings some followers, but not quite as many. And then at the end, you're always left with just 1 more unit of followers that you can command on the table.
Yeah.
It's like a pyramid scheme.
Yeah, so you're always kind of left not getting quite what you want. Maybe you wanted to take a unit of cannon because you want to play a bit defensively. So you're always kind of skewed.
Yeah.
And in a bigger, longer game, that would be annoying because you wouldn't be able to answer all the threats. But because the game's only about 45 minutes to an hour.
Which I love.
You'd be like, oh, I lost. Oh, okay, that was a bit one-sided. Yeah. But we can keep playing. And it's more about like games over 5 games or whatever.
But it's really cool. Sorry, I'm going on about beating a dead horse here. But I like that it's that. You have like this hierarchy, and then you have like an allocation of units, but then you pick the unit style, and then you pick the unit weapon. So it's like,
oh, there's no points. I suppose there's 1 point. Everything is 1 point.
But that's the smart thing. So like if you like pick a regiment, you can either choose I forget what they're called out, the really rubbishy ones.
Fodder.
That's a good name. Yeah. So you get like 12, I think.
12 dice, which is a lot for Turnip.
You can either give them missile weapons or stabby weapons.
Stabby.
So you go stabby. Then you go, oh, I'm gonna have some more brutes like the elite ones.
Yeah, the bit better fed.
Bit bigger. You go, do you want to give them shooty weapons or stabby weapons? Stabby. Then you can have some cavalry. Do you give them stabby weapons?
Guess what, Peach?
Stabby.
They're stabbing.
What about a cannon? You're gonna have a glass cannon, aren't you? For your sea glass.
Guess what?
Stabby.
Stabby cannon.
Stabby cannon. Yeah, it's good.
Stabby cannon.
Stabby
Shooting
cannon.
knives. That's what
Shoots
it's
out
doing.
like a spring and just goes boing.
I love
But
that.
it's really smart, just like a simple way of like, there's no obscurity. It's like, I've picked these are my 4 units, I've picked these, I've gone with stabbies, that guy's gone with shooters, that guy's gone with a mix.
It's really derivative, though.
But it's
because
really
it's
good.
from kind of inspired by Saga, which is one of my favorite games. Which is, I think, is one of the best designed. Saga 2 is one of the best designed, like, elegant war games. It just is. It just
Never played it.
Yeah, most
I've
people
heard so much good
haven't.
stuff.
It's
Have you played it?
amazing.
No.
It has a battle board, which is like a set of abilities.
I've heard
which
of it.
Quite differs quite a lot from Turnip in that way.
So a bit like Song of Ice and Fire has the kind of sideboard thing.
Kind of, but it relies really heavily on the sideboard.
I think with the Song of Ice and Fire, you can either like put a lot of your points into the sideboard mechanic, which is
the sideboard mechanics.
more into the like the battle.
I know.
Whereas Saga is very much intertwined. Like to even activate a unit, you need the sideboard.
Right. Okay.
But the way the army building is done, and the way that it's just trimmed a lot of fat of things, and I really enjoyed it and loved it. And so I was, I am inspired by Saga. It's a fantastic game. Play it.
Yeah,
I'm influenced.
I heard nothing but good stuff.
Yeah.
about
So
Saga,
so where are you at currently? Like, what are you currently working on? What's your current
I
project?
have been drawing a hideous old man wrapped in a swaddling cloth, smoking
I saw it
cigarettes.
and I said it was Peachy in Germany.
Yeah.
It was like this tiny, bald, like a horrible little man being like swaddled by this big fish, and I was like, it's Peachy.
So it's me.
Sorry, we'll show you it after. And
I
you'll
want
be
a
like,
tattoo
oh,
of that now.
Yeah.
It's baby smelting German Peachy. He's quite a Swill character, I feel.
I need to give him a
Peachy,
Stahlhelm or
like
Pickle
in
Helm.
Germany, smelting as a child is quite
I've got to do
Swill
all
coded.
the bloody illuminations, manuscript-y bits.
Yeah.
All the borders are hand drawn with little fish elements.
This is what I mean. You do all your own. It's so much
because I'm
work.
inspired by the old Realms of Chaos books with all the lovely little drawings.
Yes.
So any little space, there's a time to put something silly in there. Like my Turnip rulebook has like a squashed fly between the pages.
That's so
all
fun.
sorts of little
This is
stupid
marginalia, right?
Marginalia.
It's kind of marginalia. We used to call them, I can't remember what we used to call them, but it used to be what I did for all the Blood Bowl books, which is like,
good.
here we have a space in this book, fill it with something, and you
Yeah.
could just do whatever you want.
The guy
like
that does
creative
that,
freedom.
the guy that
was
does
so
that,
fun.
like in main studio at Games Workshop, I really forget
Such a
Marcus. Have you ever met
Yeah.
Marcus, who's German?
Maybe.
Trainer.
No, not Marcus Trent. Is it Marcus Trentner?
Yeah,
Maybe.
yeah,
Either way,
bold.
German Marcus.
Bold fella,
yeah,
German
Marcus
Marcus.
Trainer,
Do,
yeah.
do you know the story of how he got the job at Games Workshop, for which he's been at the
No.
company now for nearly 30 years?
Yeah,
No.
Do you know the story?
No.
I
The
wanna
story's
know.
fantastic. It's German, obviously.
Yeah.
And the German Toy Fair one year, he wanted to go meet the people at Games Workshops. This is like 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Marcus also into like hardcore music and
Cool.
hardcore bands. Super cool guy.
Cool guy.
Right? And then they were too poor to go and get in, like couldn't afford the entry fee. So him and his mates broke in.
Hell yeah,
Right?
hell yeah. Punk
Like
as fuck.
jumped the fence.
Fuck yeah, get it.
Yeeted themselves down to the Games Workshop store. They were like, "Hello, I'm an artist. I would like to do art for you and work for you." And then they were like, "That's cool." And then like as they were leaving, like handing his CV, it's like security like dragging him away.
Oh my god, that's so cool.
Right? And then it's been there for now like 30 years. And
There's-
it's like
Amazing.
easily one of the coolest people at Games Workshop.
There's
That's a
a-
cool story, right?
Yeah,
That's
there's-
like when you love that thing so much.
There's similar stories for other people who I won't name that used to work at Games Workshop, where this is like back in the day, like early days of Games Workshop, where they got hired because they were really good at making counterfeit antiques.
Oh, yeah, I know this story.
Do you know who I'm talking about?
No,
I think
I
you might.
don't,
I'll
but-
tell you after, but they used to, because I won't say. I think they used to be very good at making counterfeit antiques.
It was me.
So they were like, hey, you're good at weathering shit.
Was that the dishonest one?
The dishonest one. But yeah, there's loads of very cool people, I think, that
So,
work at
yeah,
Games
so
Workshop.
you've been making
Swill.
all the bordering. So the rules for the public shit test, the rules are not very good at the moment. They will be really good, but they require a lot of playtesting.
Yeah,
Yes.
Like, that's really important, is to test and test and test.
Yeah.
And I've reached the limit of what I can personally do with my small group of people who are doing it,
Yeah.
which is me and like a few other people. Now, by releasing it to the public, a more scathing and critical eye will be heaped upon
That's
it.
no fun.
And then it will break, and there'll be loads of interpretations that I won't even predict. And then hopefully we can get something that's even better. And what's quite nice about it is that I can keep slowly upgrading the game. So if you come in now, the game will be a bit shit. You'll make little guys, you'll play a few games, you'll be like, okay, that's all right. It's like at a fun stage. And then maybe like next month, a new thing will come out. You're like, oh, that's a bit interesting. Oh, some new models.
But it's
Ooh.
quite
And so
exciting
that
being there at
idea
the
of,
early
like,
times.
rather than growing a small army into a big campaign, you can grow a game into an actual wonderful experience. And so like your guys who maybe get some new special rules as the game develops. And it's like that, you get that with video games.
Yeah.
You might buy into an alpha and you see it slowly develop.
It was
And
like that
that's
with
interesting.
Minecraft back
I
in the
bought-
day.
I bought
I used to play very early Minecraft, and it was like almost kind of dull when it just came out, because the fun bit was like being part of the community, developing
Yeah,
it.
I really
and then
enjoy it.
I loved Minecraft back in the day. It was so fun being part of something which was developing, and they were, because it's almost like when it's at that stage, it feels like the people making it are listening to you the most.
I think it is important to
Yeah,
listen to
and then
people
it's like,
playing.
oh,
what-
I'm
they're
being
your
listened
base.
to. Oh, my input counts, and you get like
Yeah.
this great connection with all your people and stuff. I like the early developing days
Yeah.
of games,
Yeah,
and I think they should be a
Yeah.
lot more open than they are.
I would say
because-
though,
yeah,
you do take a bigger risk as a consumer doing it.
Oh, yeah?
Because you might never get the game that they promise.
Yeah.
And I will deliver my game, bloody hell. But it was more that, like, so with that in mind, I want to make the miniatures free STLs for Swill and the rules free. So there is literally little risk because you're already spending ages painting, and maybe you give me some money on Patreon or whatever. Mm-hmm. But like, the lower the risk means that the more I can experiment. I don't feel like, I've got to get something out next week. That's not as good as if I gave it an extra week to develop.
That's really smart.
And so like, and there's already Turnip there, and so that needs upgrading and slowly developing, and it's getting better and better.
Well, Swill is like a development of Turnip, isn't it? In a way.
It is, yeah. And so like, it's quite fun to do that. But to do that, I think you have to ask people to take a risk, and by making that as low as possible, and rewarding the risk when it comes like. Because, like, you know,
it's a smart guy.
Like, you've got to make a community. You've got to say, hey, do you want to play this game? And then the game sucks, and your friends are like, what the hell have you done? Like, I have just spent 2 months building all these guys, and this game is awful.
Well, this is my point.
That's happened to me so many times.
This is my point the other day that I said that I'm not a huge... I think I only said this on Patreon, so it's like my Patreon hot take. Is that I really don't like a lot of the IP-based games. You know, a new company buys, insert whatever IP.
Oh, I think X-Wing just got...
X-Wing just got cancelled.
Yeah, oh god, that's such a good game. And
people love X-Wing. What?
It's been cancelled.
What do you mean it's been cancelled?
I think it was originally made by Fantasy Flight Games.
Yeah, it was.
Originally.
That's when I remember it.
And then like I don't know if it's like an IP issue, but like Asmodee, who are the parent company of Atomic Mass Games, Asmodee are the like distribution company, then bought it all out. And then they got rid of... they have just said, we're not continuing this anymore.
Oh, I remember when it came out, people were very excited for it.
Yeah, and then on the other side of that, War Machine and Hordes, and kind of like an update. Warhammer Hordes has then now been bought out by the people that did Guild Ball.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
But the people who did Guild Ball cancelled Guild Ball because they were like...
Guild Ball is like
Guild
not
Ball
Blood
was
Bowl.
like Blood Bowl.
Not Blood Bowl.
And then they were just like I'm paraphrasing. If anyone in the comments wants to make sure I get this right.
Yeah.
But the people that made Guild Ball were like, we're not going to make Guild Ball anymore. You're all just being a bit too much for us.
Really?
Fuck you.
They blamed the people.
They literally blamed the people.
No, and then, you gotta respect
Max,
that. You gotta be a
I know. I feel like that's quite you coded of being like, "Fuck you, no fish for you."
No, you do owe something to your fans. You shouldn't be
obviously.
rude to
them. And they were incredibly rude. They were like, "This is your fault." They then also, I can't remember which company it is, so you can let me know in the comments. They then would also like, they've now brought Guild Ball back. They're like, actually, we've decided to bring Guild Ball back, and all the Guild Ball people are like, "Fuck you, man!" Fuck you, right? And now that company.
So funny.
And then that company, they intentionally stopped Guild Ball because they said you're too competitive. And they
what? Didn't they make a sports game?
And now they've brought like arguably one of the most kind of like designed to be played in a tournament setting.
Oh, I remember
War Machine Hordes.
The rule book was really kind of odd.
Was it War Machine Hordes that had the rule book? Yeah, this is a game for men.
Yeah, something like that.
Wait, what was this?
Was it you had to have balls? Like, it was
you got to have a pair of balls to play this game.
It's like Yorkies all over again.
The game is actually really good, but yeah, it was very competitive.
Wait. Competitive as in like you have to have a penis to play it?
Yeah, I guess so.
I'm not a competitor.
I don't know how competitive.
The thing to remember is that like there's a lot of. I think this is one of the interesting things I'd love to ask Max about in the Patreon thing. I think we're probably aligned a little bit on this. You said it at the start. I love coming to Nottingham because I get to see all the Games Workshop's detritus building war games, and they're basically the same.
It's not a bad thing.
I don't know if that's true.
Yeah, we get spicy in the Patreon exclusive content. So if you have any hot takes, save it for then.
Well, just before that though, because I want to do the roundup if that's cool. So you've been working recently. You're working on Swill. You're going to do more Swill.
It'll be a fantastic skirmish game.
Swill.
Victoriana, cigarettes, urinal stains, public lavatories, punch cards, revolvers, sad little fish guys in wellies.
Well, so it is Blackpool.
It is literally
Okay, all right.
And hopefully it should be fun. Maybe I'll have some tanks. Maybe I'll have some steam trains.
Oh my gosh, the tinned fish aspect is so on trend right now.
I want to have like a mechanic where you unfold to get the crew out. and that's how the crew get out. They have to fold it back again.
Like physical miniatures in a box. It'd be nice if it was in a tin.
Oh my god, that would be
But
so cool.
No idea how to do that.
You could definitely like mock it up for a reveal or something.
You get tin things.
You
I
can
hope
get
so.
tin
Yeah,
things.
I haven't looked into it, but it'd be.
Should we take you to a
amazing.
tin fish factory? I feel like you would love
why
that.
is there a tin fish?
We're going to take you to a tin fish factory. We're doing
that's
it.
a
We're gonna
Juggz
do
day
it.
out.
Juggz
Good.
day out.
Juggz
We're
day
taking
out.
Max to a tin
Peachy,
fish
what have you been
factory.
working on the past couple of weeks?
This week, I am currently working on how to make scenery with wooden blocks, kids' wooden blocks.
I've seen the
One
picture
of my
now.
favourite
I love
videos.
it.
It's incredible.
Well, the video at the moment would be great if it had some pictures over the top of it.
Oh, yeah.
This learning 21 getting into YouTube is don't early hours of the morning start like exporting and uploading because you forget stuff. I literally turned off a load of my
overlays?
timeline so I could try and find. It was a vanity project. I was trying to find a decent picture of my face so I can use it as a thumbnail. In the end, I just decided to get the camera out and just do some thumbnails.
Yeah.
But I'd never switched it back on after I exported it and uploaded it to YouTube. And then I was like,
It's a very
"Where's-"
face-orientated
It's just very
video.
me with my face. All the painting stuff's there. It's just got no like labels to tell you what the colours are.
Oh,
so I was an
Pete.
idiot. So yeah,
But
lesson
it was
learned.
for your Patreon only at that point, isn't it?
Yeah,
So
so-
fortunately, they pay to understand you.
They pay to understand
They know
me,
what you're
and
like.
I noticed the mistake, so I quickly changed the title to "Work in Progress." And oops, I did a boo boo.
Oops, I did it again.
But I feel like such an idiot. But it's a lesson learned.
It happens.
We've all done it. And the worst thing about YouTube, well, at least it was a Patreon only.
Yeah.
So the worst thing is because you can't switch the video file on YouTube.
No, you can
So-
change everything else, like the thumbnail and the cards and the
Yeah.
end cards.
And we've
Rob-
learned you can trim stuff
And
now on
you can trim
YouTube.
stuff
I
down,
didn't
which
know
I know
that.
Yeah, you can trim stuff down on YouTube.
Peachy told me
Yeah.
you taught him that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a really cool video.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, there's a lot of just a bit of me like talking about like, because it cost me nothing to make this board,
Yeah, no
right?
shit.
Because I already had it. I had the sprays, I had the ready mix filler. It cost me literally nothing. But then I'm like, but how much would it cost if you were starting from scratch? And I was looking at it like going for the maximum cost. Like if you were to buy some sprays, I use Colour Forge as an example because you can get a bundle of 3 for 30 quid. Normally like 15
That's cheap.
quid.
It's
It's pretty
cheap.
quid. So far, like 30 quid is your cost if you do what I do, which is spray a colour and then from an angle spray another colour.
Zenithal.
Zenithal, yeah, and then
Zenithal.
dry brush it and stuff.
Apparently.
That's what I've done with all my scenery. Is like I just use 2 sprays, adds a nice tone to it. But then I'm like, oh, you need a glue gun, what, 4 quid? Oh, then you need some ready mix filler, 4 quid.
Yeah.
It adds up.
It does add up. So
Yeah.
it was about £50 in total if you had no tools and you were starting this. And the charity shop like scrounge of like wooden blocks from a charity shop
Yeah.
like 50p to like 2 quid.
Yeah.
But then if you're buying them from like eBay, it's like a tenner.
Yeah.
So it's about £50, which is ironically the same set price as a Games Workshop set of scenery.
Oh.
But you don't get any of the tools to build it, don't get any of the tools to
Yeah,
paint it. So I was like 50 quid for a board, but for me it didn't cost me. Well, it cost me 2 quid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's good.
So
It's good of you to be like, because that's one of the big things that people do with like 3D printing people is they get really smug because people are like, 3D printing is cheaper than Games Workshop. And then like the people be in and be like, well, that 3D printer cost you £500.
Yeah.
So you have to factor that
But
in.
it didn't
or
cost them
else-
because they got it for free, probably. So.
Well, probably.
Well, not me, but it's,
not
yeah.
Rob. Rob has to buy his own 3D
Yeah.
printers.
But it's like it's scale though. Like I think like when you're doing stuff at home, like so one of the interesting things about terrain for me is obviously with the arena and the venue that we have here. Making terrain is like is a scale. I don't need a board of terrain. I need
Yeah.
12 boards
Yes.
of terrain.
Yeah.
That's a lot,
Yeah.
right? Like when it starts.
Oh
'cause,
yeah,
you know,
it saves you money.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
people
'cause,
like you,
yeah,
but
3D
people like
printing works at
me who
scale.
would probably just occasionally print one miniature. Maybe it's a tricky one.
Where you're not saving any money,
Yeah,
you're just buying more things.
this is what I mean.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's a tricky.
You're buying fewer things, I suppose, if you've got.
But
3
I don't-
minutes.
I
But
don't
you're
pay
still
the-
consuming.
Well, this
Stop
is it.
pretending
Well,
you're
I would
saving
say,
money.
I would say that one of the things that I love most about
Buy the
like,
toys. They're good.
well, one of the things about buying the toys though that I
Yeah.
like is
Buying toys.
Yeah,
no,
I love buying
like
toys.
so
I love
printing
buying
the
toys.
toys is that the designs are exclusively locked in the machine. You know
Yes.
that kind of Zoolander, like the files are in the computer,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that moment, and you know unless there is someone manufacturing you for them, like manufacturing them for you,
Yeah, yeah.
you can't. Like I made Louise an ocarina the other day,
Oh my god, he 3D printed me the ocarina.
but it was
that what
but it was
platform was?
but it was a bird.
No! Oh my gosh, I'll go.
But it
I'll
was
go
just a
I'll go
bird.
get it
I
in a
see.
minute.
And you know, and
really good.
maybe someone somewhere in the world makes it. I don't know, but you know, I could just be like, "There you go, that's for you
He
in a
printed
color that you
me-
like."
and it sounds like not shit.
Oh,
it blew my.
cool.
I'll go grab it in a minute. Tina's probably playing it right now in the cupboard. But yeah, it's really it's like so cool, and in my favorite color as well. But yeah, you do. I think going back, it's good to say how much all the other stuff costs as well.
Yeah.
That's
I agree.
an important
I think as
bit.
well, like once that cost is there, you then have those sprays for a duration. You have that ready mix filler for a duration.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like looking at doing another video where I'll use like coffee stirrers and
Hell yeah.
tin cans to make like towers, because the scenery is quite generic. I was looking at it going, that could work for like Star Wars. It could work for 40k as like some weird ruin. So it's quite generic.
Yeah.
But I also visited a cave. I went to Juggz Hole Cave.
You went to Juggz Hole.
Juggz Hole Cave.
Juggz Hole Cave.
Juggz Hole.
That's amazing.
Whole cave of
Wasn't allowed
Juggz.
inside the cave because Mrs. Peach and Charlie were like, you can't go in the cave.
Why couldn't you go in Juggz Hole Cave?
Because if
Because
you're
it was-
stuck in it like that guy.
Yeah.
What do you mean that? Oh, that
it was
guy.
a big cave, but it was quite a large opening. But the route down was quite muddy. And there was lots of rocks at the side you can
Oh,
probably
it
hold
was like
on to.
miserable weather, yeah.
Yeah, and like Liz and like Charlie were like kind of concerned that I'd
Father,
die. So
we'll
So is
lose
this in,
you in
is
the
this in
jug hole.
Derby, Juggz Hole Cave?
so
Can we all go?
Yeah, we'll do
we
a live
should,
stream
yeah.
from
Yes.
there.
I mean,
Definitely.
I'll literally drive us there. It's about 40 minutes away. It's in Matlock.
Oh, we should
So-
go after a Juggz one day and go to Juggz Hole Cave.
What we did was we hired a small cottage. Me, Liz, Charlie, and my mate Steve and Helen. We just stayed over there for a couple of nights. It was pretty chilled. It's literally 5 minutes away from Matlock, 10 minutes away from Matlock Bath. But it's like it felt like you're in the middle of the countryside, out the way. And Bakewell was like a 30, 20-minute
I wanna
car
go.
drive. Probably the same on a bus because there's bus stops nearby. But we were going to go to the Heights of Abraham because you get the cable cars that go up to the top. And it's between the five of us, it's like 130 quid. You can visit a cave. And I was like, that's a lot of money. I can't really afford that. So I typed in caves in the local area, and literally a 13-minute
Oh, yeah,
walk.
you said like the other
30
cave was like 100 quid.
Yeah, that was the
Yeah.
That's
Heights of
mental.
Abraham. But you have to take the cable cars to the
Oh,
cave.
the cable car,
So
right.
you can't do it without the cable cars.
I could do it.
I'm sure. Well, you could climb it. You could
It's
definitely
a
That's
challenge.
my number one thing I hate most about
Heights.
Nottingham.
Oh.
Is Nottingham is built on a rock, therefore it's full of caves.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
'cause
yeah.
it's, it's
But
been
you
here
can't
for
go to 'em, right?
It's been here for like 1,000 years.
Yeah.
And whenever anyone comes to Nottingham and they want like, what's the thing I should do?
What's the tourist thing?
What's the tourist thing? And I'm like, we have caves, don't go. And they're like, why?
Oh, I want to go to caves.
Yeah, this is it. And then they all want to go.
They all want to go,
I'm a
and I'm
cave
like,
You
creature.
would love the
I
cave.
love caves.
You would
no,
love
you
the-
won't, because
Yes,
let me
you
let
would.
me give you the tour now.
I know,
Can
but
I?
you gave
Yes.
me the
Yes,
tour,
it's
and
a
then
tour.
I was like,
Cave
I
tour.
love this.
Okay,
Cave tour.
all right.
Okay,
so
we're
here
in
we
the
go.
cave.
Here is the cave tour.
Wow, it's
Okay,
very
so
vacuous in
hello,
here.
hello, welcome.
Hi, hi.
We're in a new cave.
This is a
Hello.
nice cave.
Okay, so this cave could have been maybe a tannery,
Wow.
maybe a storage room, maybe even a pirate hold.
I hear they use dog shit for tanneries, so this would have been a lovely place.
Have you heard
Correct.
about saponification, sir?
Yes,
So when you-
saponification to
Correct.
cave
So
master.
let's-
So
Should we-
the fact you're saying maybe, they just don't know.
All
Wow.
right, so now
Here-
let's go into the next
Oh,
cave.
okay, next
The
cave,
next cave,
next
next
cave,
cave.
next
As
cave.
you can see by this
It's a good cave.
again, nothing in the cave. This could have been, well, maybe a tannery. It could have even been a storage locker.
Or a brewery.
Yeah, it could have been a brewery.
Or pirates.
Or pirates.
Whoa.
Be like, whoa! Let's
Next
go
cave,
to the
next
next
cave,
cave.
next cave, next cave. Da, 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 da,
This
da.
cave, amazingly,
I
could
like
have
this
had
cave.
pirates in. And maybe at one point, a tannery.
I heard it was a tannery.
A tannery.
I heard
Wow.
it was a tannery.
And that's it. All you
Pirates.
do is go to loads of fucking empty caves. Yeah? Right? And they're like, it could have been, but anything. And you're
What
like,
was it though?
Who knows?
Oh my god, the mystery!
It's
Good. It's like a
I
role-playing
like
game.
it.
You
yeah.
make your own imagination.
The caves are what you make of them.
Yeah, it's the
goblin
shadows on the
horde.
wall.
Yes.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah,
It's not a great
It's
experience.
real
though.
life. I
It's real
believe it.
I feel like I could just do that to you with abandoned rooms.
Honestly, the back rooms.
Yeah, lock
Yeah,
me in a
that's
room.
literally the back rooms.
Okay, talking about the back rooms,
It's
Louise,
my brain.
what have you been working on the past
Well,
week?
Peachy.
Oh,
It's
what
funny
about
It's funny you said your thing because I think I'm doing a similar thing. So this week I've been working on my video about my tiny little anime chibi
Ooh, yeah,
Inquisitor,
yeah, yeah.
which is out tomorrow, which is now in the past.
Yep.
So you can
Yes.
watch that video now. But I've repainted a little Bandai chibi anime girl to look like John Blanche's OC from Rogue Trader, Obi-Wan Sherlock Clouseau. And I love her, and she's really cute, and that's just something
Did
I
you
did
ever
for...
include the, you did like a 16-bit artwart, which was
Oh,
wicked.
yeah, that's in there.
Is it?
Yeah, that's all in
so
there,
good. It's
including
so
the
good.
spoiler for my next other video that I'm doing. Ooh,
nice.
spoiler, secret. But then I'm like, what do we do next? Because me and you are in Worlds. We're at the Age
We're
of
in
Sigmar.
Worlds.
We're
Yeah.
in the caves.
Yeah, the Worlds.
We're going to the Age of Sigmar World Tournament in Amsterdam.
Nice.
World Team Championships,
We're in
yeah.
and I want to make a video there
there for a
about
week.
that. Yeah, we're there for a whole week, which is a long time
Monday
to
to
not
Monday.
be painting. So I'm definitely going to do a video about the tournament whilst I'm there, do a lot of filming, but I'll not be able to edit that till I'm back, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, I have like 4 days to sort of work on stuff. I mean, I'm a bit like, I don't really know what to do. I want to do a video because we talked to Andy Wardle and he reminded me of a video I wanted to do, which is about unlearning the Citadel painting system and how to be like a more efficient painter if maybe you do some different things to that. But in order to do that, I need to paint 2 miniatures, one with the Citadel painting system, which is how I used to paint my orcs, and one which is like slightly more updated. Do I have time to do that? I don't know. On top of that, I'm doing like 8 things. It's really good fun. And then I've also been planning my Gundam video. So I'm doing, back to what I was saying, a similar thing to you, where I'm like, I'm brand new to this hobby, Gundam. What do I need to get started and how much, like basically how cheaply I can do it? So I've gone on Amazon. And I've got like the tiniest little cutting mat, the like organizer, the knives. You don't really need glue, some pencils and pens, the panel liners. But I splashed out on one thing, and it's the clippers.
Yeah.
The £50.
Oh, yeah, they're
50.
worth it. Yes.
Are they? Have you tried them?
Yes.
Are they good?
It's buttery smooth.
I hear the word butter a lot. The clippers.
No, I can't go
the
back.
God hand.
The God hand
Can't
clippers.
go back.
Yeah.
I used to be using a pair of like fabric scissors to cut my miniatures back in the day.
What the hell?
And until someone bought me they must
God
have seen
hand.
me clipping in my little cave, and they bought me.
Was it a tannery?
Maybe a pirate's cove.
Maybe a pirate's
Good
cove.
clippers.
Yeah.
Good, yes.
So the only, because that's like the thing, isn't it? That all the fancy people have is the clipper. So I was like, I'm going to spend money on one thing, but then go like so cheap on everything else. So I bought like the cheapest nail files to file it down. Just like, because when you're new to a hobby, you don't want to just instantly buy the most expensive of everything. So I tried to like budget everything else. And I'm just excited to be like, how is it different? What can I learn? And just like, I'm really excited just to try a new hobby and then make a video about it.
That's cute.
So I have a lot of ideas in my brain right now, but I don't know how many I can do. Also, I just want to do a second. Do you know the Reddit, Am I the Asshole?
Yes.
I've not been on Reddit
It's my
for a while.
favorite. It's my favorite Reddit thing where people just like say stories and they're like, I just shat on my neighbor's lawn. Am I the asshole? And everyone's like, yes. I want to do that, but Warhammer, where people like anonymously send me their horrific Warhammer stories, and they're like, yeah, well, of course I flipped the table when I didn't win. Am I the asshole? And I'm like, yes, you are.
I had someone do that to me.
There'll never be any self-realization in it, though. They'll never be like, I bought 19 armies. Am I the asshole?
I did a video.
Yes.
I did a video which was like Warhammer Confessions, and it was fucking unhinged, Max.
I see.
It was so bad.
Have you ever put a box of
Jesus.
classic 20 goblins on your head, like a crown,
Is
and
this-
become the Goblin King?
Is this you?
Then maybe.
Oh my God, am I the asshole? Can you send that into my, thank you. I made a crown of goblins and called myself the Goblin King and then shat on
I
everyone's...
was doing it alone. No one saw it. It's fine.
Jesus.
It's fine.
So,
it's like
but you've also been back into painting, and you've been happy being back into painting.
You can just tell when I start painting again,
Yeah.
can't you? Because I just get so much happier. Because like I was saying to you,
Night and day.
it is night and day. Like I love painting, but a lot of the time I'm not painting because I'm editing and doing other things, or just making a video which isn't necessarily about painting. It's about like Lego, exactly, or like my silly Warhammer confession videos, and I just want to paint all the time. So I've had a few videos now where I've been painting, and I'm just really happy.
Nice.
I like calm down a lot, which isn't believable, but I do. But I don't really know what I'm doing for the next couple of weeks. I'm going to try and do something simple.
How do you feel about
and fun.
going to the World Team
I'm
Championships?
excited. I'm
Okay.
excited to like make a
are
video
you
about
getting there?
it.
We're going to train. You're a star.
Train.
You're a
Cool.
star.
I was gonna
Louise
say-
isn't cool with flying.
No,
I don't
that's what I was
love
gonna ask.
being that high up in the sky.
Yeah.
It's not my
Plus,
favorite.
I prefer I'm doing all the live coverage, which is where we will set up all the equipment to live stream, an amount of tables. They're teams of 8 playing against each other, so it should be 8 tables. But I'm actually not going to do 8 tables this year, quite controversially.
Why is that controversial?
Well, because I've always pushed for doing all 8 tables because effectively it's a match. So you would never
Not
live stream
record
a
a
football match, but only half a pitch.
Yeah.
That's a weird thing to do.
Yeah.
So it's 8 people against 8 people. A team format is everyone has to have a different army. you play pretty standard, so it's like 2,000 match play points. And then everyone in the team has to have a different army. And then Netherlands are playing England or whatever it will be. I did the the first round draw on live stream.
Yeah, so he rolls a bunch of dice with flags on it to see who's going to play who.
Yeah, which is quite fun. And
fun.
I was able to get two communities who play each other religiously, Northern Ireland versus Republic of Ireland. I rolled them, and then and whatever I rolled is the draw.
Yeah.
And they were both like, "Rob, you knob," and I was like, "I'm so sorry," which is quite fun. But yeah, we've been doing. But the important part is, I've always had this really interesting thing with doing live streaming at events because I've had to live stream an event, but I'm also traveling to the event. So it needs to be
all the equipment,
but also as small as possible.
Yeah.
And so I've always been, and then also based on the past several years, as cheap as possible as well. And therefore, there's been a bunch of innovation. There's also been a bunch of I'm just going to hack these two things together. And so that's been quite fun. But the train is because it doesn't have any weight limitation.
So we can bring 2 massive suitcases of just electricals.
Yeah, which is quite good. But it actually, I don't even think it'll be that much.
I think you've managed to make it quite small this year.
I've actually bought a couple of extra bits, which is quite fun to make it. Maybe we'll see. I haven't actually tested them yet. That's the worst bit about technology in the creator space, which we don't talk about enough. Is you'll watch a YouTube video this is the best thing to buy. Cool. You'll do all of your research. You'll double do your research because we had this recently with a camera.
We bought a massive the most money I've ever spent on anything in my life, camera for miniature painting. And Rob was like, this is going to be the best thing. Everyone's using it. And it just didn't do what I wanted it to do.
For clarity for everyone, it's a Sony Alpha 7S.
Oh, yeah.
It's a 4, Alpha
Which
S4.
is supposed to be the best camera ever.
It's meant to be a really good camera.
Yeah.
And it just overheats when you're recording.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you can only have it on for because I'm painting, I'm doing it for 4 hours a pop, right?
Yeah.
And after 30 minutes, it overheats and you have to let it cool down for half an hour.
Yeah.
I'm this just isn't what I need.
So sometimes you just got to.
Well.
Sometimes you just got to do you just got to take a plunge on some tech, watch a bunch of videos, which again is time. That's a lot of time that you're spending
it's not
learning.
painting.
And then, so we've got these, if anyone's ever used a DJI.
It's the ones that I was running around with at Turnip.
The little robo ones.
Yeah, the little robot man.
Yeah.
So there's a new version of those which can live stream straight from themselves. So that's my new infield camera. So last year I had John.
So cool, you'll love it.
John's wonderful. He's my infield cameraman at Worlds. And he had an entire harness.
A rig.
A camera on a gimbal that attaches to the harness. Okay. So, because he's wearing it for 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
He was not a happy boy.
And then that is then connected via to a wireless pack, which is sending to the receiver.
He looks like a little AdMech man.
Yeah, he does. He literally looks like
a
a machine gunner. And now it's replaced by something that's smaller than this phone. It is just going to be
yeah.
See, I might have to get something like that for PeachCon because there's going to be a bunch of people that can't make it.
Well, we can lend it you if you want.
I was about to say, why don't you just get us to film PeachCon? I like having a job, which means that I'm not I don't have to talk to everyone all the time.
Well, there's a bunch of people that would like to say hi, but
I'd like to say
you
hi.
are both invited to
I'm
about to say two Juggz.
Two Juggz.
We can lend you them.
I'd love to.
That's not a problem.
I would be more than happy to run around and do some filming too.
Yeah.
So it's what I did at TurnipCon.
You did such a good job.
Oh, I love the footage. Yeah. I got some really artsy footage of people playing Turnip.
Yeah, because I was thinking during the day it'd be nice to stream for those in the States or wherever that can't make it, and just have a little channel on my Discord that people could just jump in and just see what's going on.
Guess what? You can do that from this little new camera, which is fun. Apparently, that's what all the YouTube videos are telling me.
See.
I'm going to set it up this weekend to see, and if not,
see.
it'll be a disaster.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of responsibility to. So that's what I'll be doing next week.
Yeah.
I'll be maybe having fun. I want to go to that little place.
Efteling.
Yeah, which is a little gnome themed foresty theme park just outside Amsterdam.
Awesome.
I will be in the same hotel. We arrive Monday night. I do set up on Tuesday, so I have to set up a mobile studio, and then we then live stream the singles events, which is Wednesday and Thursday, which is about I'm going to say 12-hour days, both days minimum, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday is the team event. Which again will be 12, 14-hour days.
And then you're packing down and then
you
going home.
pack down Sunday night, go home Monday.
I think me and Jamila are going to start a wives and girlfriends club.
Oh, fun.
With me, Jamila, and Echo and everyone else.
Maxine, yeah.
Yeah, Maxine.
That'd be
we're
cute.
just going to hang out the whole time.
I won't be. I'll just be stuck to a desk. Although, actually, I'm trying this year, because this is probably the last year I'm going to do it.
Oh,
Yeah, last year I don't really want to do it anymore.
that's fair. You've grown up.
I'd like to live stream events.
Yeah.
Definitely in the future, live stream games.
Do PeachyCon?
But I'm just PeachyCon. Yeah. But I'm not really interested in doing the World Team Championships
That's
anymore.
Oh, well, we'll have a big party then. And
Yeah.
I want to, like, find out. I want to get the scoop, right? I want to go around and get the scoop and make a video out of it because I love doing the castle video.
I'd like to be clear that it's not got anything to do with the event organizer is great, as well as the event people.
Oh, is this why you're not doing? Okay.
No, they're all great.
Yeah, we love them.
And then the actual event itself is also really wonderful. You see, like, so if anyone doesn't know how it works, national teams, they, every national team does it differently. England's
They're
is super
really good
toxic the
fun.
way they do it. Like the French have an l'Académie. Would you believe that there's like several tiers of voting in the French system?
Amazing.
Yeah.
For how you get onto the team,
I see.
it's very strange.
Yeah.
This is why I want to do a video on it because, like,
Yeah, sounds
that's
great.
freaking weird, right? Because you think Warhammer's just this little game that, like they have, like voting systems to get onto the team.
Yeah.
Voting systems.
Yeah, so it'll be really fun. And Dan's coming over, who is going to be but I'm trying this year to get a bunch of other people to do the commentary.
I
So
want
I've
to
done
do.
it
Can I
so
want to
much.
do the commentary?
Yeah, sure.
Is this Dan D?
Dan,
Dan's
our
there.
Dan.
That's
Yeah,
right.
he'll
Yeah.
be in Europe, and you will miss him.
Oh,
I know.
yeah, it's too long a period for me to come over. Thank you for the invite, though.
Oh
I
yeah,
know
we
you-
said to Peachy to just come for a day. Are you gonna be?
I think I'm in the rough area. I can always travel up to
You
Amsterdam.
should. Yeah, you should come for
The
a
rough
day.
area, like
It's
Yeah,
very
well, Belgium
small.
and Amsterdam
Yeah,
is like
it's just Europe. It's all.
literally.
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
it
totally.
is kind of like
I
that
want
in
to go to
Europe.
Amsterdam again.
Yeah,
I
you
like
should
that.
come up for a day and see all the Age of Sigmar
It's
people.
odd. Like, I do wonder, like, if the Juggz community could let me know, because
Okay,
one of
good.
the things that's really interesting is, like, I think tournament gaming, especially, is incredibly insular. Like, and
What do you mean insular?
like whenever I say tell people I'm going to the World Team Championships of Age of Sigmar,
I'll be like,
they
what?
go, I didn't even know that was a thing.
This
Yeah.
is why I want to make a video about it. It's interesting.
Yeah, and I'm like, and obviously there's also one for 40k.
I've
There
never
is
been
one
to
for
those.
Hobbit. Like the team
I know
format.
the Middle Earth strategy battle game one.
Yeah,
They usually
there's-
do it in a church and they're really cute.
Yeah, the team
Yeah.
format is like the accepted standard. I don't want to say pinnacle, that's wrong, but the accepted standard for how like international communities generally get together and play against each other. The team system.
It's 2 people against 2 people, isn't it?
There's 8 versus 8.
What?
8 versus 8. It's not a doubles match. It's 8 individual matches. So you have
That's
a team
it.
of 8, and then they play against another team of 8, and then you do a card system at the start to work out who's playing against who.
Yeah.
And then all 8 matches happen simultaneously, and then you'll try to get points. And
Crazy.
then the team gets the cumulative total of the points at the end.
Yeah.
But it's really odd. I don't know why. And that's why I'm asking the Juggz community this question.
Juggz
Because like
community.
that's outside of my normal grouping of people.
Yeah.
Why people don't know about it,
So-
I guess.
I have not heard of it.
I've heard of it and I've not even known.
I
don't
had
know.
a bunch of comments on my con video when I talked about going to different cons.
Oh,
and
yes,
a
of
few people
course.
said, "Is there a list that tells you when all these cons are on?" And I was like, "No, there isn't actually. You're right, there isn't.
Yeah.
It's
There is
actually,
no
it's
list."
actually the same for Warhammer events as well.
Yeah.
Someone
Like,
could just make a website that's just like all the stuff coming
Some
up.
smart person with an app.
the biggest
skills.
problem with that is that you are just doing it like it's exactly what we were saying about with Patreon. You would end up doing a load of work
Yeah.
for free. And if someone's got the time to do all of that work for free, that's great.
There
A
used to be
service
someone
to a
that used to
community.
do it for metal gigs in the UK and it was great and then they stopped doing it. I was really sad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like communities are kind of like often run by like volunteers, right?
Yeah.
People
Like,
that just want to do the thing.
your club organizer. Like I'm really lucky. This is the one of the only years I've ever been paid for doing live coverage ever.
I can't believe that.
Congrats.
Like
Yeah.
yeah,
You deserve it.
Yeah,
Get it,
well,
Rob.
but that's quite interesting. So that's what I'll be doing next week. And then
Cool.
last week I've been making loads of videos,
And being generally quite ill.
and being quite ill. I also made 150 token sets.
Oh yeah. The
150.
tokens are looking great. But yeah, busy week.
Busy week.
Busy old week.
Busy week, and that's going to be it for a
Yay, because I need to drink some very sway.
Okay, such a weird.
Can
way
I just
to
do a
end
quick
it.
shout out to
Oh,
Moon?
Please,
yes,
wait.
I'll shout out.
I'm not just pressing the button straight
No,
off.
no, no.
Bye.
I just want to do a quick shout out to Moonstone because they kindly sent me some stuff.
Did they?
They did. So
fantastic.
I've got-
Oh, let's get it
I've
out.
got toys. I've got toys.
Toy,
I've
toy,
got
toy,
toys.
toy,
I feel
toy,
like
toy, toys.
Moonstone and Turnip are kind of like like the yin and yang.
They could be friends.
So I've got like rags and riches and some goblins
Can
called
I
mushrooms
see,
and mayhem.
Can I see Rags? I've got the goblins already. I want to see Rags.
I think
oh,
this-
it's me. It's the little orphan.
I think this might be the entry, the
Oh,
gateway.
did you get? Yeah, you got the start box.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
it's such a good
Mrs.
thing.
Peach is in love with Doug
Show the
the
camera.
Flatulent. Doug the Flatulent is a goblin riding a pug.
He is. Doug the Flatulent's
I love
great.
Doug the
So
Flatulent.
I think because of doing
You
the
should
Frostgrave
read-
video,
You should read the story for. Is it Ugg?
Oh no, it's the little grub.
Is it Flea?
It's Grub.
Is it Grub? The story for
Grub.
Grub is.
Oh, yeah,
the
Grub's
story for
our
Grub is great.
favourite.
Yeah, so I got a couple of books as well. So that's like
Well, let me try and find the story for Grub.
Oh, there you go. I got the
So
two there.
yeah, Grub has like a little poem about him.
And then, as another shout out, Novus Malum. I saw these at Expo. Well, I didn't see them at Expo. I wanted to swing by Expo.
Okay.
They make a game system. I've still got to have a proper read through, but they're trying to be as environmentally friendly as they possibly can.
Oh, that's good.
So, although the models are resin and plastic 3D prints,
Can't
everything
be
else is card. So if you open
Can
the
I have a little
box,
peep? Yeah.
what I do like is
Oh, pretty.
everything's recyclable. Look at
That's
that.
what's
Oh,
this?
that's
Is this all the
fun.
packaging for the miniatures?
Yeah,
Can I
I've
have
not
a look?
even
What
actually
is it?
looked
It
at the
looks so
miniatures.
spooky.
There is goblins versus dwarves.
Oh my god, no, I love this.
Okay, so
So-
each one of the characters in this book, right,
It's
has a little
Moonstone.
a little intro at the bottom. Okay, so everyone can see this. You can see.
Yeah,
right?
you're in frame.
So they're all different, what's in the name is the fencer, Wasp, and Freya. Freya's got a whole story. Fairies are a creature to be feared by all.
Yes.
But Grubs,
Grubs.
the tale of Herbert Groovebottom, a warning to novice wizards. There once was a goblin called Herbert who had a most unusual desire. He longed to be young, he longed to be beautiful, but magic he knew could misfire.
Same.
For years he would toil night and day, his job to tend the king's garden, as he worked his dream of moonlight and dance, but under the sun did his skin thicken and harden. I know, drama. Then one day beneath unpruned thicket vines, there Herbert found a book, heavy with a battered cover and an age-brown leather book.
Like his skin.
He held the tome up high and hearing cryptic voices in his head, Herbert saw the possibilities and headed to his garden shed. From inside his workshop, the goblin spoke the words with a burst. Seeing youth and beauty so close, he didn't consider he would end up cursed. I know. Herbert's eyes grew wide. There was a splutter and a pop. With a shock, he knew fear, and he fell down with a flop. Herbert awoke with a start and ran to the king's lake. But once he saw his reflection, he knew he'd made a mistake. Something had gone wrong, and he wiped his eyes with scrub. For what stared back at him was no goblin. In place was his ugly grub.
And he's a little grub.
And he's a grub.
He's a grub.
So
But
Rob loves that.
The models, by the way, are
They're
amazingly
stunning.
Thanks for letting me do that.
They're
So
stunning.
nice.
And every time I see the Moonstone people, it's Tom, isn't it, who does a
So
lot of this stuff.
Susie's been talking to me.
Oh, she's the nice lady
so
from-
I'm all
yeah.
new to it, and
That's so much loot.
I know,
good
I mean,
loot, it's
I
good
think doing
loot.
Frostgrave and Silver Bayonet has done me a lot of favours because lots of people are reaching out wanting me to look at their games and stuff, and I'm wanting to learn more about some of the games
There's
that are
so
out
many
there.
good ones out there.
Yeah.
I said I'm probably not going to do anything on this straight away because I've got other videos in the pipeline, but I have, since you've been talking about it, and as I'm a bit of a read of the rules, I'm like, ooh, this looks fun. I do
Oh,
like
it's
looking
fun.
at this.
It is fun. I need to get more into Moonstone, but again, I just need the time.
Yeah,
Time.
Time.
play some games.
Max, you got any shout-outs? Anyone want to say hello to? Or
Oh
thank you to?
gosh. Oh, I should probably shill my stuff. Right, so
Let's go.
Turnip28. If you go to and search Turnip28, it's on a Patreon. Turnip28, Patreon, whatever. Download the rules. They're free. Check out the Swollen Maglet, which is basically where all the lore is and the painting guides. There's also a bunch of free STLs if you've got a 3D printer. We also have a shop where you can buy things from. Loads of stuff comes out constantly. Whatever. Next is a bunch of disgusting lamprey-themed policemen and their horrible prisoners, all shotgun-wielding, great guys.
Great guys.
If you, that's it. Just
And there's a good
Turnip28.
Discord as well. Your Discord is
The
great.
Discord is a bit chaotic.
I like it
admittedly,
there.
But
It's
yeah, there's
where I
quite a
fit
lot of
in.
people there.
Do you need
But
to be
it's
part
good.
of the Patreon to be on the
No,
Discord?
no,
Oh,
it's just a random.
Yeah, you just
Yeah,
invited me
yeah,
to it.
yeah.
The Discord's really good fun, though. I like it.
Yeah, just try Turnip28 out. Try it.
Well, obviously, we're
Try
going to include all of the
Turnip.
links in the show notes, both on the podcast and also, I think I've also fixed the iTunes link.
Yeah, you get a lot of hassle for that. I mean, you do.
I get a lot of hassle for that.
Yeah, Rob, you get
I
a
mean,
lot of
that's not your
hassle.
fault, though. I mean, there's
It
a
is.
lot
No, I'm
of.
joking.
There's a lot of.
It turns out,
Podcasts.
so doesn't matter what it was. No one cares. But I fixed it, whatever the situation.
Very good.
I was about to regale you with my story of. No one cares. It works though. Does it work though, Linky Man? Thank you. But I will include all of the links.
Oh, thank you.
And I'll also the top
and
comment.
one link will be a secret virus.
No, Max.
No.
It won't be a secret.
A secret virus.
It's incredibly annoying. Now no one's going to click the
We're going to
link.
make one a secret virus
Okay,
now.
no
But
secret
wait,
lines.
this will make them click on them to
Yeah.
be like, ooh.
One of the links may be to juggz.com, where merch is currently in production. I don't know if that is really true. But
fuck around and find
I do
out.
like your comment.
yeah, fuck around. If you see a link that says juggzthepodcast.com and you click
It might be the virus.
So Tom was sharing us some like Juggz merch, some logos. And
yeah,
saying,
yeah.
would you prefer the blue border, the white border, no border? Both me and Rob were like blue border.
And then
these
and
two were like,
Tom.
no, we prefer this. And Rob's like, Peach, we should just tap out.
Yeah, we tap out. It's the two graphic designers versus me and Peach. We're out.
Yeah. My shout outs, I don't know.
Oh.
I have so many lovely friends and it makes me very emotional. I'm going to shout out Tina, who knew I was sad yesterday because someone said a mean thing on the internet once, and she took me to the petting zoo, and we got to feed the pigs via the pig feeding tube, which is hilarious. And that
horrendous.
cheered me up, and I got some eggs as well. So thank you, Tina, for taking me out on a walk to the petting zoo.
Thank you, Tina.
Thank you, Tina.
Thank you, Tina.
She keeps us all saying how.
Tina.
I don't know how, but she does. But yeah.
Good.
Cool. Well,
Thank you very much,
thank
everybody.
you everyone for coming to our
Thank you.
Juggz, and thank you, Max.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Max. If you
Max.
can
Here.
please do.
Max,
If you are a
Max,
Juggz head, do throw as much support behind Max as you can.
We love it.
We do love bringing on people like Max
And his
because
face. It's got a good face.
it's got a good face,
got a
and
good
hopefully he'll
face.
come back. Hopefully he'll come back as well. There's loads of other
Yeah.
questions I'd love to have asked
Gosh.
you.
Oh yeah,
Same.
yeah. Like we did not have enough time to ask everything we wanted to ask.
It gets
you.
manic.
Like where did you get
It's
your
good.
scarf?
It's very good.
It's so nice.
You look amazing.
Dead old man.
Dead old man.
And that shout out to all the dead old men everywhere.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Juggz.
Tough being a dead man in the hobby.
Yeah.